This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Network. Please go to aratemedia.org to see plenty of podcasts from our friends, or if you would like to start your own podcast, they can provide you with all the tools to do so there. Please go to aratemedia.org. That's A-R-E-T-E media.org. On with the show, Jordan?
On with the show, Justin.
That's right. Flawless intro. By the way, if anyone wants to make us a theme song, we of our 23 followers, if anyone wants to find someone to make us a theme song, we'd be open to having a theme song. I'm just saying.
You want a theme song? I can just download GarageBand and mash the buttons and just make something that sounds good.
I mean, okay. If it's as long as it sounds good, you can do that. But if someone else wants to make it with actual talent, they're welcome to.
Ouch. You think I don't have an ear for music? You don't think I can make something that sounds pleasing to the palate? I'm offended.
I don't know. Prove me wrong. That's all I'm going to say, Jordan. Prove me wrong. Make something that sounds good. That's all I'm saying. That's the challenge to you. That's a challenge to you.
Maybe I will.
Welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast, everybody. That was a weird intro. I'm your host, Justin Spurr. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the incomparable Jordan. How are you, Jordan?
That's me.
That's Jordan.
I am incomparable.
He is incomparable. Today, we have news about stuff. We're going to talk about the Transformers 1 trailer. Apparently, Tom Cruise was going to be in something. I don't remember what that thing was as the thing is cut off. Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be Lex Luthor at one point. And Shadow the Hedgehog. We know his voice. And then later, we're going to be talking... What a twist, Jordan. What a twist.
What a twist.
And
mystery.
It's going to be a big twist slash mystery. Maybe there's a mystery, but there's no twist. Maybe there's a twist, but no mystery. Who knows? Who's to decide? But to start off with, Jordan, you remember the Golden Axe video game?
Yes, I do. I remember going to the arcade as a kid and playing up to four people? I think it was 5 or 6. It was one of the bigger ones.
I believe it was 4. I want to say 4.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. I just remember there being one where it was like you were 3D people and it had like this big console.
Oh, no, you're thinking of Gauntlet. That's what you're thinking.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Golden Axe was a 2D. It was kind of like X-Men, like the X-Men arcade. It's like a beat 'em up arcade game.
Then no, I don't remember that one.
Well, they're making an animated series at Comedy Central. A 10-episode series is coming to Comedy Central, which makes me think that this article came out in 2008. But there we go. They're making a series for Golden Axe. Apparently, it's a lot of people in spandex and underpants. It's weird. It's very strange. Apparently,
we're not here to judge. If people want to wear spandex and underpants, that's cool.
That's cool with me. Yeah, it's like a fantasy thing. The game's pretty fun. I remember the game being fun. They had one at Castle Fun Park, which I quite liked. They used to play it a lot. So it's a nice cheap one.
I'm sure. If I saw the sprite art or whatever, I'd probably know what you're talking about. I just offhand, off the top of my head, in this specific moment, at this second, right now, I'm having a hard time picturing it.
That's totally fair. Apparently, they announced that Invincible is getting renewed they got renewed for season 4 and 5. So expect that.
Is it going to take like 6 years to be made?
I was just going to say, expect to see that in 10 years from now. No, apparently they've already begun working on season 3. So they think that
so they'll be done it in 3 years.
Well, yeah.
You know, between half season breaks, quarter season breaks, and then like end of season breaks, it'll take them an eternity to make it.
I mean, yeah. They're pretty confident it's going to come out next year, though.
Okay, sure. Justin, look at me, Justin. Look at me. Let's all hold our breath.
Anyway, that's great for our audio listeners. They don't get the visual joke. I love how we do visual jokes, but half of our audience is on Spotify.
Well, that just entices them to come be live and hang out with us and see the visual jokes.
That is true.
That's the reward for being here on time.
That's true.
If you're not late to the party, you get visual gags.
That is true. And eventually when we monetize, that will be part of the incentive, is getting the visual gags. Because eventually we're going to go audio only. That's the goal. That's the goal here.
I mean, fair enough.
It's
Fair
not. It's
enough.
not actually the goal. That was a joke. So the X-Men '97 directors. I misread this article, but I heard people talking about. There was a rumor, I suppose, about how they were in talks. They might do the X-Men in the MCU movie, and I'm kind of like, I hear that show's good. So good. I haven't seen it.
I mean,
so I can't speak to that.
Is the show good? I watched like 2 episodes. Is the show good, or is it just your fondness for the source material and it like being childhood, making people go like, you know what? I enjoy this, not because it's good, but because it reminds me of when I was a little boy and
Honestly,
or girl.
I have no idea because I haven't seen it yet because I have a podcast that requires me to fill my time with watching movies. And you can only have so many additional other hours to do things you want to do.
That's
but
fair.
I haven't watched it yet, and I want to watch the original series first to really get a gauge of it. Be like, do I remember this as well as I thought? Because it's just I'm seeing clips from it, and a lot of it's washing over me. Where it's like, yeah, I suppose it's thing I remember, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I just don't have enough of a fondness for this thing I remember. Or maybe I've just grown. The nostalgia well has run dry for me, where I just no longer get excited or interested for things based upon nostalgia. Like it actually has to be interesting. I don't know. I don't. I remember like one major set of episodes of X-Men, the original animated series, and that's the Days of Future Past, and that's kind of it. That's kind of all I remember.
Yeah, I have that issue as well, where it just didn't hold me.
No. And it's right in the sweet spot. I remember watching it as a kid. I absolutely do. I like Spider-Man more. That's the one I remember more.
I remember like as a kid, I remember watching it and it was like, yeah, it was fun, but it was no Spider-Man.
It wasn't
Spider-Man was always the one where I was like, you know, he's my favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
The other ones are fine. I enjoy them. They're okay, but they're no Spider-Man.
Exactly. Yeah. I just never. I remember liking that, and for like the longest time, like my favorite versions of them were obviously those versions. But like now when it comes time to like sit down and actually watch that show, I'm like.
Right. And I think for me, part of what made me like X-Men, it wasn't even the show. It was I remember I have memories of going over to my cousin's house, and playing. He had an X-Men game, and I remember playing it. I remember playing it there and playing that, and that is what I like. That's what more my fondness for the character.
Yeah, like Street Fighter.
The show is fine. Yeah. Street Fighter, and I remember him having this. It was like a side scroller beat 'em up, and the character that we always wanted to play as, was Nightcrawler. It was him. There was Storm. There was Rogue, and they looked like the one from the '90s cartoon show.
I mean, there's that the X-Men arcade game, which we beat. We beat that when we were kids. We beat that game. Yeah. So it's
like it's things like that are more where my nostalgia for X-Men comes from.
Yeah.
Not really. Like, and the show, the reason why I enjoyed the show as a kid is because it made me think of those moments.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So like now when I watch this show, I don't really have a nostalgia for the original show. It just makes me think of those moments in my life.
I find with myself, I don't
when I watched the show, it was just like, it's not an interest as an adult.
Yeah.
It's not an interesting enough show to really keep my attention.
Yeah, like my thing was I've kind of discovered I'm not a fan of shows so much as I am 5 to 6 episodes of that show that I rented off of a VHS tape as a child that I saw 100 times. So
a lot of the older shows in particular.
So like with X-Men, it's like that, where it's like I didn't like X-Men so much as I like that Days of Future Past chunk of episodes, or Transformers. I used to like 3 or 4 episodes at a time, but when you sit down to watch it in any level of succession, you're like, yeah, I can't. Every one of these episodes is identical. I can't do it. Like.
That being said, watching the original Transformers, because I did a little bit of that for the last or one of the weeks or whatever, but I do find it funny, like at all the funny and creative ways that they tried to find for Optimus Prime to say something that was similar but not exact. Like every time transform and roll out, where it's like transform and move on from here,
Yeah.
transform and relocate, and it's like they're trying not to just say the same thing every
Right.
week. It's very funny.
Right. In a segment I called that guy was going to be in that movie. Apparently, Tom Cruise was Zack Snyder wanted Tom Cruise for Watchmen, and he wanted him to be Ozymandias, and Tom Cruise wanted to be Rorschach. And so I'm just like, I didn't know about the Ozymandias thing, but I'm like trying to picture him as Rorschach. I'm like, there's no
I don't I don't see him as either.
no, and Zack Snyder's like he could have done it. I'm like, that really just demonstrates how much he doesn't get that comic book.
Yeah, or any superheroes ever at any point. He's
Right.
kind of out of touch.
Right. And so then in that same vein, apparently Leonardo DiCaprio, who has famously avoided superhero franchise in his career, was almost Lex Luthor in Batman versus Superman. Apparently, him,
I
Tom
mean,
Hanks, and Adam Driver were
he
almost Lex Luthor.
he couldn't have done a worse job than Jesse
Well,
Eisenberg
so
did.
that's my question though. Is okay. So, is
I don't see it,
okay?
but
Let's just stick with Leo. Let's just stick with Leo for this thought experiment. Is he the Jesse Eisenberg version? What is he like? What is a Leonardo DiCaprio Lex Luthor? Is it like more Jordan Belfort?
I don't see him as the Jesse Eisenberg version. I
No.
see him as like the President Luthor, like charismatic and charming version, where like he
Sure.
can talk his way into any situation and like he's the more the chameleon in plain sight version.
I absolutely I don't disagree with that. But then does that change Batman versus Superman? Like does it
Oh,
become a
absolutely, absolutely, it does. The very foundation of that, like then at that point, to me, it's more believable that he would be able to charm like Bruce Wayne, for example. He would be able to charm him and like smooth up with him more because he's not an obnoxious, insane Joker.
yeah, well yeah, that's my thing. It's like so
And so to con him, I believe that a Leonardo DiCaprio version would be able to convince Batman to fight
like
Superman at least once.
that Jesse Eisenberg version, like he wasn't scripted that way. There's no way he was scripted that way. Like that had a very show up in the
No,
day kind of attitude to it. Like I'm just like
that had to be a choice.
I'm like how early on was that? That must have been early on in the like that must have been pre-writing. That has to be because I'm like that's a totally different movie with Leonardo DiCaprio as Lex Luthor. For me, I could see it. I could see it. It's just not as the Jesse Eisenberg version.
Not as the version they have. But
No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
I can see a version of him.
Right? Um,
Uh,
so in the vein of talking about Transformers, speaking of Transformers, we gotta talk about that Transformers One trailer because hot damn, that looks really good. I
it looks really good. I'm generally excited, very excited for it. It looks like it'll be a good time. My one thing is that so I understand that like they're pre versions, like they're early
yeah
versions. They're before they become Megatron and Optimus, but I just don't see how this character becomes Megatron.
yeah. Well, I mean it just feels like in order to become. I mean I assume people seem to think it's borrowing a lot from the IDW comics, but I assume that he's gonna wind up to a version similar to Gen 1 is my theory, is my assumption. So like yeah, I just that's an extreme pivot for a character to but the IDW version of him is the like they start off as on the bottom and they work their way up kind of thing. So yeah, you're right. I don't see it. But to be fair, I also don't see this version of
Like the one way that I
Ryan
see it
Pax
is if
becoming
like
Optimus.
they have with Orion Pax, historically in the comics and stuff, It is very much like once he pulls it apart, the like how when in the movie when Rodimus Prime, how he is like the version they have of him in the show and
Yeah,
stuff. He's very different than he was as Hot Rod. Like he's like a completely different character.
yeah.
So like it's sort of implied that when the matrix of leadership is used, it quite literally like if they're machines, the best metaphor I can think of is like it rewrites over them, so they're
Well,
like a completely different person.
in the case of the animated series, I saw someone, and maybe they're wrong. To be fair, I didn't watch the episode to back it up, but the video I saw said that in the original, like that's what it wound up being in like the comics and stuff. But in the original show, it was like he gets destroyed, Orion Pax gets destroyed, and then he gets rebuilt as Optimus.
Oh, I can't speak to that. I'm
But
not sure
I
about
don't
that.
I don't
But
know how accurate that is. I didn't actually
I
watch the
just more
episode.
I'm just more going by like what Rodimus Prime is so different than
Yeah, I think
than Hot Rod.
I think that is something that they eventually retconned in, but I don't know that it's from. But again, I could be. That's something I could be wrong about. I'm
So my point more being that like if in this movie he gets the Matrix of Leadership, pulls it, and then he becomes Optimus, yeah, okay, I believe that would like amp up his courage levels, for example,
yeah.
whatever. Like it's what kind of makes him into it. So like the only way for Megatron in which I see it is if like there's like I can't like an evil version of the Matrix of Leadership, if you
Yeah.
want to like an object that he gets or a thing that he gets that like fundamentally shifts him
My
and
thing,
turns him into like the like the
maybe.
uh, like it has to be a thing or a person that corrupts
Yeah.
him or
Traditionally, it's um he's like a they're basically like an oppressed people. At least this is what it's like in the comics. They're like an oppressed people, and he's like a gladiator in a gladiator ring. And the Decepticons start off as like a rebel faction, and
right.
they start to go too far, and they start to push things too far. So I could see a thing of like it starts off where he starts making more and more morally corruptible decisions. That at that point I could see like where he's kind of a reckless, cocky kind of
Okay.
person, and
Like
he's
if it's like a
slowly
slow progression thing. Yeah,
like
yeah, okay, okay,
like a
okay.
Anakin Skywalker thing, if you prefer. Maybe.
That being said, it looks good, and I'm excited.
Yeah, my thing is like it appears like they're fighting a thing, so I'm just concerned it's gonna be a thing of like they don't actually become Optimus and Megatron by the end of it. This is like the first one, and we're gonna have to wait till the second one to see whether or not to see him actually turn into Optimus. That's my concern. That's my one concern.
Oh, I mean, it'll probably be a thing where yeah, they're Orion Pax and M10 or whatever until like we're 70%, 80% of the way through the movie, and then they'll change at the very end, and then it'll be in the next one where they're like actually Megatron
Yeah,
and Optimus.
they'll do a thing where they're like looking off into the distance as they look on like forlornly at each other as each of them like
Yeah,
floats away, and it'll be like the implication that they're still friends even though they're it'll be like Magneto and Xavier in X-Men. It's
yeah,
like they're
yeah.
still kind of friends deep down.
Optimus still thinks that he can reach Megatron and change him, and Megatron knows that he can't.
But he Optimus Orion Pax not Australian.
No,
He's not
no, he
Australian.
wasn't.
I was a little disappointed.
In
I'm
fact,
not gonna lie.
I was a little impressed because if I didn't know that was that was
Chris
oh,
Hemsworth.
I'm blank. Yeah, thank you. If I didn't know it was him, I wouldn't know it was him.
You could tell that we're right. He's definitely going to do Peter Cullen. Like his Optimus voice is going to sound like Peter Cullen because that's the direction it's going in. I'm interested as if he's going to go full bore Frank Welker. I didn't even think about that when I said Peter Cullen last week. That I'm curious if he's going to go full bore Frank Welker. I don't think so. I could also see how Keegan Michael, I think it's Keegan Michael Key as Bumblebee, might get kind of annoying.
Yeah, I could see that too.
But I enjoy that they have to earn their transforming. Like it reminds me of like
Yeah.
Gallifrey, like Doctor Who, in the sense that like I like how all not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords, but all Time Lords are Gallifreyan. So like the idea that not all Transformers are Cybertronian, but all Transformers are Cyber. You know what I mean? Like not all Cybertronians are Transformers, but yeah, I like that idea. I was like that's interesting. It makes the transforming interesting. Although I saw someone say that it's kind of silly that, or it's kind of they don't like the fact that they look like Earth cars. That is one thing I did like about I think it was Battle for Cybertron, where yeah, the trucks and cars he turned into are Cybertronian cars. I'm like, that's cool. That's a nice touch. 'Cause, yeah, they wouldn't know what Earth cars are.
I mean, yeah, but they're given the transformation ability, right? So they could easily have a thing where it's like, yeah, this is full of reference vehicles or whatever from a planet that we visited once, like many cycles ago or whatever, and it's that's why they look like Earth ones. Like it's an easily explainable
I
thing.
suppose. It's funny though when you I also I do appreciate someone said it's nice to have a Transformers movie that it's just Transformers, like there's no human characters. But I will say, and I thought about this when I was driving home today, um, human characters are pretty integral to that franchise. Like they're always there. It's not like Godzilla
Yeah.
where you're like, I just want to see the monsters smashing each other. Like they've been there. They've been around. Like they're not always the forefront of the story, but they're there. They're involved.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this, they somehow end up on Earth, and then
Probably.
that's what the next one is.
Probably. They'll probably be like yeah, a loose connection to the original show, I'm sure. Or there'll certainly be hints of it. I'm sure there'll be references to
Yeah.
it. But I am. It's definitely the first Transformers movie. I mean, I was pretty excited about the Prime, not Prime. Oh my God! What was, Rise of
Bumblebee?
Beasts. Yeah, no, not Bumblebee. No, I was not excited for Bumblebee. I went to that one because I was like, yeah, why not? No, Rise of Beast I was excited for. That one was disappointing. I was expecting more of that one. That just kind of turned back into Bay again. That was my thing with that movie.
Yeah.
Like it was like Bumblebee was so good because we scaled back and and then the next one was like, what if we did Bay again? But like also it's the best version of Bay. Like legit. It's like yeah, we're doing Bay but good. Like a lot of the action sequences in that movie was clean. Like I do want to watch that one again.
I'm excited for this one though.
I am, yeah. It's the first Transformers movie I feel genuinely excited for. It just looks good, and the animation does look good. I like the art style. They do get a little lost. Some of the designs get a little lost, but no, I'm excited for it. So they announced. Remember how we were trying to watch Godzilla 1 for our appearance minus one, yeah. Apparently, it's finally going to. It's finally going to streaming, but not in America. America's still got to wait. It is coming to streaming in Japan on Amazon Prime in Japan, which means that if you want to find it, you probably can. Wink.
Yeah, but it probably wouldn't have any subtitles.
There's a chance. There's a chance. The Japanese fan subtitle community is pretty good. They're pretty good about doing stuff. So there's a chance. You have a better chance now that it's going to streaming in Japan. And then it's funny. I just have a story here that just says Michael Douglas wanted Hank. Oh, sorry. Let's try this again. Michael Douglas wanted Hank Pym's MCU Death at Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. He wanted him to die. He wanted him to get carried away by an ant and die.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's totally fair. That's totally fair.
I don't really have a lot to say about that. Okay.
Other than, yeah, it was the third one. I get it. I'm always surprised when it's like they've done more than one and they're like willing to come back. I'm always like, okay, I respect that. And then when they were like, and then I want my character to die and never come back. And I'm like, that makes sense. I get that. And then finally, we know who's going to be playing Sonic the Hedgehog. We know who's going to be Shadow. We know who's going to be Shadow.
Shadow the Hedgehog in Sonic 3.
We already knew who was going to be Sonic. It's Ben Schwartz. But now we know who's going to be Shadow. And apparently, Jordan, it's Keanu Reeves.
It's the chosen one.
It's the chosen one. That I still don't. I don't know that. I mean, it's been everywhere. I've seen it everywhere. I haven't seen Paramount confirm it.
I could believe that it's true, but until I actually see him in a trailer, I don't.
That's the thing. It just says according to the Hollywood Reporter. Like this is not from Paramount. This is not from the studio. So like until the studio confirms it, or I hear it in a trailer,
or the actor,
or Keanu Reeves himself, yeah, I'm not gonna believe it. But I'm cool with it. I'm absolutely cool with it.
I can picture him talking with his voice down in that low kind of
So, but
baritone,
no, here,
where he's doing his where he's doing his John Wick voice and
here
he's talking all serious.
here's my that is my question. Okay, which Keanu do you want? Okay, do you want John Wick Keanu? Do you want Neo Keanu? Or, and this is my pitch. This is my pitch for the Keanu that should be in Shadow. That should be Shadow in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Bill and Ted. I think we should just go complete left field. Everyone's expecting John Wick Keanu. No. Theodore Logan, because I just remembered he plays Ted. Ted
Theodore Logan.
He should be Ted. He'd be the Ted voice. That's my pitch.
I mean, if we're being serious, John Wick voice. If we're going for comedy, then you bring Shadow and Big in together, and you have the dude that plays Bill S. Preston, and you have him be Big, and you have Shadow be Ted.
I mean that'd be amazing. That'd be so funny. But like, no, if we're going serious comedy, I mean, for me that's still Hayden Christensen. Like that's funny. That's legitimately funny casting. That makes you go, yeah, I'm okay with it. Right?
But you know, I mean, I can go either way. Either way is good for me.
I'm okay with either. For some reason, I don't know why. I just want him to bring big Anakin Skywalker energy to it. If he's gonna do it, if he's gonna hit Christensen, I just want big, like he's. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. I just want that.
From my point of view, the humans are evil. Yeah. They killed Maria.
I have to kill them now. This has to border on PG-13. This can't just be PG. I'm Shadow the Hedgehog. I have guns. He should have his signature gun. That's
and I mean, he apparently has a motorcycle.
He's got a signature motorcycle, so just give him his signature guns. Give him his signature 2 guns. And he has to say his signature catchphrase. Curse words.
Yes.
Curse words. That's his signature
curse
catchphrase.
Words.
It's curse words.
Like, he's not actually saying curse words, he's just saying curse words.
No, he has to say damn and hell because he swore. He said big curse words.
No. Just any time that he would say that, he just looks at the camera and is like, curse words!
No, but it has to be big curse words. It's big curse words. No. When he says curse words, and then when he really wants to emphasize it, he goes, big curse words.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I can agree on that.
We nailed it. But that was... This episode has gotten weird. That was the news, everybody. We could record it, John. I'm just saying. We can get you in the studio. We get big headphones on you. We could record it. I'm just saying. And that was the news. Today's very weird episode. It's been sponsored by.
It's just one of those days.
It's one of those days. It's been I had to work this morning, so I'm extra tired and extra loopy. This episode is sponsored by. It's sponsored by TrophySmack.com. Jordan, let's say you wanted a belt, a big belt to hold up your pants, and also tell people that you're the World Intercontinental Champion. Where might you get such a belt, Jordan?
You would click on our link and go to TrophySmack.com. You could not only buy a custom engraved belt, which looks dope, but you could have trophies, you can have rings, you can have wall art, you can if I wanted to get you something for being a hopeless loser, I could get you something, and you would have a thing. And let's say I would tell you that you're a loser.
And let's say you don't want to actually play any actual real sports. They have fantasy trophies as well for fantasy leagues. Really great for that. Really great for that. And as Jordan mentioned, the trophy has a loser section. There's a loser section. Big old loser section. Loser. I had something I was going to go for there, and I completely lost it. That's TrophySmack.com. But you have to make sure you use the link in our description and tell them that we sent you. Because that tells them that we're their friends. And it helps us out in the long term. Helps make the podcast on the show better.
Help us, help you, help them, help us, help me, help you, help us all.
Provide a better show. And kick-ass trophies from TrophySmack.com. We did it, Joe. We stuck the landing. We did it. On with the
Stuck the
show.
landing. Yeah, on with the show.
On with the show. So today's rapid fire. Today's show is brought to you by TrophySmack. No, today's show, we're going to be talking about...
and the letter P.
And the letter P. And no, the letter M for mystery. Or T for twist. Because today we're talking about mysteries and twists. And so with that, we got to give away the twists and the endings. So, we will say whether or not we liked it or didn't like it for the stuff we hadn't seen, but then we're going to spoil the shit out of them. Especially because a lot of these are old. So if you haven't seen them, it's your own darn fault. I'm sorry. But just most of these to all of these were pretty good. That's all you need to know. And we're gonna answer at the end of them, big twist or not big twist, and is it a mystery or is it not a mystery? Because we deal purely in binary around here. It's only two things. It can't be any more than that. So with that, let's do rapid fire.
You're gonna get us in trouble. You're gonna get us in trouble with statements like that.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh no.
That could be extremely clipped out of context.
Oh, don't take that against you. Don't take that out of context. Oh no, Joe. What's your first rapid fire? Changing the subject.
Well, my first rapid fire. My first rapid fire.
Oh, this is.
Focus.
This is not
Focus
going.
in.
This is not going well. First rapid tire, Jordan. What's your first?
National Treasure 1 and 2. I watched two things. I'm combining them into one because it's 1 and 2.
Because they're more or less the same movie.
Largely.
Yeah.
But I like them. They're fun. They're always a good time. What's on page 42 of the presidential's book? I want to know, and I hear they're making a third one, maybe, possibly.
No.
So maybe we'll find out.
Nicolas Cage was like, "There's never going to be a third one." So there's probably not going to be.
Damn it!
I mean, did you not watch the show? Did they not say what's on it in the show?
I didn't watch the show.
Oh, maybe they say what's on it on the show.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's a never been said thing, and I want to know.
Oh,
anyways, it's a mystery. They're trying to find the treasure, loosely a mystery.
I love that era of movies and television stuff where we went, what if history but different, which is going to be a theme that's going to pop up a lot for you.
Yep.
But I do love that where it's like,
or at least once.
What if the founding fathers were actually really smart and had a super duper secret treasure? I think I looked up because I think we talked about National Treasure before, and I think this is like the Da Vinci Code, and it's a thing that's based on a real thing. But then I remember I think I looked it up and it's not. It's
well,
not.
I mean, Shibboleth, that's the Golden City in the second one, I think is based on some story.
Well, did you know related to the idea of, did you know, I think I told you this, that there was a city of gold?
I mean, yeah, it kind of just logistically makes sense when they had this resource that was about and like plentiful that they didn't consider to be like a money thing. They had no concept of that.
We don't do
so
that.
It was just a building resource.
We don't typically do Divergence on our podcast, but real fun when I watched a really interesting video on El Dorado, which remember in Uncharted, how it turned out, spoilers for Uncharted, I guess this is a big twist, I guess it's thematically relevant, but at the end of that game, it turned out that El Dorado wasn't a city of gold but a statue, and it literally translates to Gold Man. That's actually true. It does translate to Gold Man, and the story of El Dorado originates wasn't actually a big city. It was that someone went and visited this particular tribe, and as part of some sort of ritual, they like bathed themselves in gold dust. It was like a ascension to like tribal chief or something, and they bathed themselves in gold dust. Someone's going to correct me on this, I'm sure. And that's where El Dorado comes from. And then separately, some other explorers went to the New World, South America, and they did discover a city of gold. It wasn't like a massive city of gold like El Dorado was. It was like a very small city of gold, but it was a city of gold. And so other stories of cities of gold popped up, and they were all based on that one. So yeah, so that's
interesting.
So it's not that El Dorado was real, but it was like there was a version of it that existed in history, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of myths are based in truth.
Yeah.
Some parts of it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if they're not, then you could believe that they are, which is what makes some of these movies fun.
Yeah. Yeah. But sorry, we got wildly
Anyway,
away from National Treasure.
that was my first pick was National Treasure 1 and 2.
My first one.
Not first pick, first rapid fire rather.
My first one isn't really a mystery. Oh yeah, so sorry. Big twist. First National Treasure. Big twist.
Not really.
Is it a mystery?
I mean, it's a treasure hunt, which is kind of a mystery.
I would say it's a mystery. I would say not big twist.
I would think the first one, or say the first one, is more of a mystery than the second one.
I can do this for some of these because I've actually seen them. Okay, so second one, big twist.
No.
No big twist. Is it a mystery?
Yes, they have to solve the quote unquote mystery about whether or not their father was part of the Lincoln assassination. So I would say yes.
All right, okay. So with that, my first rapid fire is The Great Mouse Detective, which I quite liked. It was cute. It's funny because I know I've seen it a bunch as a kid. It's way scarier than I remember. It's quite frightening.
Oh, Rattigan.
It took me so long I was like, the guy who gets kidnapped, he's Scrooge McDuck, and it took me forever to realize that. And I had to look it up. I was like,
there's a lot of voices in there, which are the older Disney voices,
old Disney voice actors. And it's funny because I always remembered it being like it's just straight an adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, but with mice. And it's like, no, he's his own character. He's his own character. Yeah. He's based off a series of books.
He lives below Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, and that's the whole bit. He is Sherlock adjacent because he does things like he's got the violin and the clothes and whatnot. But yeah, no. So in terms of Jordan, you're gonna ask me the two questions.
The two questions.
Big twist or no big twist, or is it a mystery?
Oh. Big twist?
No big twist. No, I was expecting there to be more of a twist because it was a Sherlock Holmes story.
And was it a mystery?
Not really, because pretty much from the beginning you almost immediately know that it's Rattigan, and he pretty much immediately takes credit. So it's less a mystery as it is like a good guy versus a bad guy story. So no, not really. No. What is your next rapid fire?
Mm-hmm. Well. My first rapid fire, I mean, the first two rules are that I cannot speak about it. But I'm a rule breaker, so I'm going to speak about it. So I picked, or my second rapid fire is Fight Club.
You know what's interesting about those first two rules? Someone pointed this out to me, was that they're there to program the people who join the cult to break rules immediately. Because you're immediately breaking the rules by
talking
Fight Club. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people point out that people learn their law lesson.
That movie has a lot of subliminal messaging in it, which is interesting. There's moments throughout it where you can see Tyler Durden just flashing around, like still frames. Oh, that movie's great. It's a classic for a reason.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean that's a. It's funny. It's funny how we both picked David Fincher movies with Brad Pitt in it. Because I for one of mine I did Seven, and that's also David Fincher. Yeah, I love his editing style. His fast cuts, and that one's fun to go back and be like. So okay. I mean, we're gonna talk about the twist with this one, because Jordan, there is indeed a
twist. There is a twist.
Big twist. And is it a mystery?
That's an interesting question. No, I don't think so.
I don't think it is, because the big twist, not really a mystery. It's just a big twist, and the big twist.
No, it's just a big twist is that Tyler Durden is a figment of our main character, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head.
He has no name. You never find
Robert Norton.
Oh, Edward Norton is the actor, but you never find out his name.
Edward Norton is Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden is Edward Norton. And that Justin, don't cut me off. That is, in fact, a big twist.
That is a big twist? No, in the book, the reason why you don't never find out his name is because the book is written from first person, so he's just the narrator.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
That's one of those
Interesting.
ones where I don't know how. I mean, it's a good twist, but to me, a good twist is something where it's when you watch it upon multiple viewings, you can pick up the points where it's like Saw, for example. That was another big twist we could have picked. Didn't even think about that. Like if once
I
you
did.
know that John Kramer's alive, you notice all the little things in the background. Whereas with that one, the twist that he's actually Brad Pitt is actually Edward Norton kind of comes out of nowhere, and I don't think it's set up all that well.
It doesn't come out of nowhere exactly. If you pay attention close enough and you have laser like focus, you can see him from like pretty much the very beginning of the movie. There's a lot of little things that kind of set him
Oh,
up,
fair
and
enough.
once you're kind of keyed in and you're aware and you know to look for these things, it's like, ah, like when they talk about how uh when Edward Norton is doing the narration of what Tyler Durden does for a job of at the theater and splicing the film in and stuff, he literally explains how you can cut in a subliminal image by cutting in a single frame, and most people don't even notice, which is calling back to the fact that the filmmaker of this movie literally did that with Tyler Durden.
That is true.
He over the course of the movie has spliced him into single frame shots to subliminal to like you don't even know that he's there until you know that he's there. And that's kind of what it's supposed to be like represent, or at least my interpretation is that it's supposed to be representative of like how Edward Norton it's splicing into his reality.
Interesting. Interesting. That's interesting. I hadn't noticed that. That's okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I mean, there are. I guess if you're paying attention to his interactions with Marla, you're like, oh yeah, clearly he's talking to him like as though he know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
The fact that he read from the beginning is like don't you can't talk to me talk about me with her.
yeah,
Like that's a rule that he makes pretty early on, and like once you know that he's not real, it's like, oh well, yeah, of course the Figment wouldn't want me to tell people about him
yeah,
to
exactly. Yeah.
directly reference it. So it's like, sure, there's things that like once you notice, or like right from the first moment when he's on the plane and he's Tyler Durden skirts past the flight attendant and never touches her, so she never acknowledges or even like
Oh,
knows
yeah.
that he's there.
Fair point. All fair points. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, good. That's fight. Anything else about Fight Club, Jordan?
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie. It's a good movie that the wrong kind of people like.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
the next one I watched was Get Out.
All right.
Which you've seen Get Out. We watched that movie together. Do you remember Get Out? Do I have to explain Get Out to you? Do you remember it well enough that I
Tell
don't know?
me, tell me a little bit about it. I don't know it by name.
It was the horror movie where. First of all, that's because it does. Ask me the questions first.
Does it have a twist?
Big twist.
Does it? Does it have a twist?
Big twist.
Oh, so it does. Okay,
Big
tell me about the
twist.
twist.
Um, it does indeed have a big twist. And Jordan, for the
I'm
second
not.
question,
Justin. You can keep doing that. I will not do that.
big twist. And
Okay.
Jordan, indeed, there
So,
is.
so, just to be clear, and I need you to give me a straight answer on this.
Yeah,
It does have a big twist.
it indeed has a big twist.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I amused myself. And there is kind of a mystery. Yeah, it's the one where it's the guy he's dating a white girl. It's a black guy. He's dating a white girl, and he goes to her parents' place for the weekend, and they're all weird, and they're like white liberals who are like trying not to be racist, but it makes them more racist. Kind of things, the kind of white liberals who are like, I can't be racist. I voted for Obama, like those kind of racists.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I don't specifically remember that one.
and the big twist is that they're kidnapping black people, and they've developed a technology which eventually essentially lets them put the brains of the white people into the black people, but it's not like a brain swap thing because the black people have to keep like a little part of their brain to control motor functions, so they're still in there. You don't remember this? We went to watch that.
No.
I believe we watched that in Mission. We went to Mission, I think, to watch that one.
Oh, no, I don't
Um,
remember that one.
yeah, my thing
That
with
sounds
it,
that sounds incredibly fucked up.
like it's like, and basically they like all these white people they bid, they kidnap these black people and they all bid. There's a secret cult where they all bid on who gets to become the black person, basically. But like, what's weird about it is this. They make it seem like it's like, okay, yeah, you for sure do this, and we've worked out the kinks of this process. But like the black people are always like a minute away from escaping. Like the control breaks constantly, and they have to like reinstitute the control. So the main guy, the guy who wants his body wants it because he's blind and like wants his eye for art. Like he doesn't care about, like mostly it's about wanting to be black, but he doesn't want it to be about black. He wants to become him so he can become like a photographer or whatever. But like every other character you meet who's been controlled by these people, they all break really easily. So I'm like, it kind of seems like you need to live close to them so they can always like reinstitute this control. How are you going to go to New York and become like a photography icon? I don't. This seems short-sighted. It's just very strange. And then the ending, it's like he murders them all. Yeah. I thought it was all right. I liked it better the second time than I did the first time for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was, for some reason, when I watching stuff to like talk about it for this, always changes how you perceive a thing. Because I'm like, you know what? I appreciate this a bit more, and I liked it a bit more. I remember I didn't like it so much the first time. So, a case of Justin changed his mind, but I was Get Out. I have one more, but it ties into my book reports. So I'm going to hold my action until I do that one.
I have one more and then an honorable mention, which I didn't actually watch, but I feel obligated to bring it up.
All right.
So
oh no,
my last,
sorry, I lied. I do have one more. I'm sorry. Sorry, go on though.
my last actual one was the Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes, which I think was Shadow of something. I don't know, whatever it's called.
There's two. Book of Shadows is the second one.
Okay, well, I think I watched the first one. Maybe.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. It was boring. I don't really remember much of it, and I fell asleep through it. So,
did he fight Moriarty in it?
Yeah.
Then you watched the second one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah, Book of Shadows is the second one.
It's the one where Watson is getting married.
Yeah, that's definitely the second one.
Okay.
No. That might be the first one. I think he's getting. I can't remember if he's getting married in the first one or if in the second one. I know one of them. Yeah. Book of Shadows is definitely the second one. That I can say for sure. So if you watch Book of Shadows, you definitely watch the second one.
I just remember it had shadows in the name, so it probably was Book of Shadows. I don't know. I just saw it on. I saw a Sherlock Holmes movie that was on. I think it was on Amazon, and I clicked on it because I was like, I need a mystery.
Fair enough.
I know I watched the Robert Downey Jr. one.
I've never really been a Sherlock Holmes guy. Like I almost considered I was gonna pick that one, or I was gonna watch some other Sherlock Holmes one. I'm just like, half the fun for me are mysteries where I can follow along, and I've just never been the only. I didn't mind the Robert Downey Jr. ones, but I liked them because of the flash and the style. Like there were a lot of style and substance for me. I liked him as Sherlock Holmes. And I like Jude Law as Watson, but the story itself didn't do anything for me.
That's kind of what it was for me, where it's like I like the we go into Sherlock Holmes' super fast vision and he's thinking things out, and then we see the acting out of the things and stuff. Like that stuff is fun, but I have to be honest, I fell asleep through it, so I don't even remember what the plot was.
Did he fight the guy where like he's shirtless and he's fighting the guy? Because that's from the first one that I remember being in the first one.
I don't think so. They were on a train.
Yeah, it's sure sounding like you watched the second one.
Yeah, that's probably the case. Either way, it's fine. It's fine.
None of that. Like I've seen like 3 or 4 different versions of the Hounds of Baskerville, and it never does anything for me. I don't honestly know why.
I remember
Victoria.
I remember enjoying. I remember enjoying Enola Holmes more than I remember enjoying Sherlock
Yeah, I
Holmes.
remember you said you watched that, and I was like, really? I considered it because I heard it was good. I heard it's
I,
not bad.
I watched the first and the second one.
Yeah, I can't think of a Sherlock Holmes adaptation that I like that I love. I like the Robert Downey Jr.
No,
one's just fine.
I
There's
remember
nothing.
ones where it's kind of just like it's fine. I don't have it's not offensive to me. It doesn't hurt my sensibilities, but it's not wowing me.
So I suppose no big twist.
I don't know. I didn't stay conscious enough through enough of it to tell you that.
And it's, I mean, it's a mystery. It's a
I mean,
Sherlock
just
Holmes.
just by just by nature of it being a Sherlock Holmes, it is a mystery.
It
Yes,
automatically becomes a mystery. So what? So
there is a
I
He's a
had
detective. There is a mystery
I
afoot.
had one more, and that was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes, that's a good movie.
That
That's a
movie's
technically impressive movie too.
that is such a technically impressive movie. It's funny. I was watching it, and I saw someone talk about once, and it's come in and out of existence because there is technically a sequel, to the book. Because this is, I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is based on a book, right?
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Okay, very briefly, as briefly as I can. It's based on a book called Who Censored Roger Rabbit, and instead of being a cartoon character, he's now a comic book character. So when they get killed, he gets killed. The story begins with him being killed by having his speech erased, and that's how they get erased. And it is otherwise. I think he still has a wife called Jessica Rabbit, and I think the detective guy is called Eddie Valiant. But other than that, it's very loose in terms of its adaptation. But there's technically a sequel which is closer, which is more based on the movie and features the character from, and I can't remember what it's about. But I've always been like, why? Like, there's nothing
I
really.
mean, there's another movie for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is called Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Oh
Pretty sure if I remember correctly, in that movie they literally reference
yeah,
Roger Rabbit.
yeah. My
Like
thing
it
is,
takes place in that world, as far as I'm
what
concerned.
I realized is, I kind of want to see a Who Framed Roger Rabbit prequel. Like, I kind of want to see the origin of Toontown, because when I was watching this, that's all I could think about this time was, where does Toontown come from? Who created them? Like, they all have agency, but they don't have legal right to their own autonomy. Like, they don't own the space in which they exist. That's kind of odd. Like, and it's like it's implied that Acme created them. Like, they could, because they, like, Acme has to give up ownership of Toontown. So is he the one who created Toontown? Like, it's talked about, like, how Eddie Valiant and his brother, they ran a detective agency in Toontown, but they're the only non-Toons to do. Like, where does all this come from? And I became really interested in that as I was watching this. I'm like, yeah, I want to see that. That does interest me. And yes, that this movie is also upsetting and weirdly sexual. Also, it sure does sound like that Donald Duck says the N word.
Wait, what?
Oh, did you not? Have you not heard that's an old movie myth? When they're playing piano
No.
against each other, it sounds like Donald Duck calls Daffy a filthy N word.
What? No, I've never heard that.
I'll show you. I'll show you later. It's kind of funny, and the subtitles say something that I guess it sort of sounds like that's what he's saying, but I don't know. It sure sounds like he's saying the N word.
I mean, I just know that well, like one thing I know is that the movie there was all growing up there was always the big thing where it was a big deal that there's the scene where Jessica Rabbit gets thrown from the taxi car and you can see her underwear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like that was like a big deal.
That was a
You know,
big
you
deal.
just didn't do that.
Or the other one, when, like, Baby Herman goes up the woman's dress and sniffs his finger. That was another one.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things.
It's
in
an
that movie where it's
astonishing
like, wow,
movie for a lot of reasons. Like, not even
I'm
mentioning.
impressed that they got away with that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's so weird how, like, Disney is so ultra conservative about their IP now, where you wouldn't let your IP be anywhere near anything salacious. But, like, Dumbo's in this movie. He opens the blinds and it's like, it's Dumbo. Like,
Yeah.
and then you got, like, the Judge Doom like murders an innocent
shoe.
An innocent shoe with like no due process. He's a judge. Is there not like a court system they have? Like
I mean, sure there is, but that's kind of the point, is that toons don't have rights.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, it's weird because he says, "Yeah, I will try him in a court of law." So okay, he's gonna try him, but you just murdered that shoe in cold blood. Like, what did the shoe do? I rewatched this too, and I was like, I'm like, what did the shoe do? I don't understand to be so publicly executed like that, because that's what that was, Jordan. A public execution.
Yep.
I don't get. But yeah, that was the thing I thought about. Like,
it's because he's a shoe, Justin. He is a thing. The cartoon is a thing. It's not a person.
Because like,
so he didn't murder it, Justin. He just erased it.
And that was another question I had. It's like, I want to know more about. I know that there is a. I don't know if it's a comic or a book, but there's a prequel something, which I don't know if you see Judge Doom, but like. I feel like there's something I've read about it because I got curious, but I wanted to know what his backstory was, what he looks like, because we never find out what he looks like.
No, he's still wearing the mask or whatever.
Yeah, he's wearing the mask. You see at the end he's wearing a mask. We never find out what he actually looks like. So yeah, there's so much.
He's intense.
Yeah, and there's so much like what drives a toon to want to essentially commit a genocide, like. Because he was willing to just kill every single other toon. Why? Why would he do that? What pushed him to do that? Other than the argument, I guess, could be he's just insane. But like his plan is really elaborate to just be insane. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's just a lot of like questions about the origins of Toontown that I was so interested in. Like
it's an interesting world.
Like it's implied in that movie that Roger Rabbit just works for Maroon. So, like, Maroon Cartoons is effectively, like, Warner Brothers or Disney, right? So, like, Bugs Bunny works for Disney, Warner Brothers.
For Warner Brothers.
And then Mickey Mouse works for Disney. And I'm like, so wait, so did they create them? Like, how did they come? Like, those are all questions I'd love to see answered way more than a sequel.
I mean... But they did make a sequel. It's called Rescue Rangers.
I mean, there's also a book, apparently. I don't know what it's called, but there's also a book. Or it's a comic book? I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, that was Roger Rabbit. That's my last rapid fire.
I have an honorable mention, which I didn't watch, but if we're talking movie twists, it's one of the most famous ones.
Oh, sorry, you didn't ask me the questions, Jordan. You didn't ask me the questions.
Oh, was there a twist?
There was, yeah. I mean, the twist. Well, I mean, they pretend it's a twist, but he shows up and is pretty immediately evil. So they want to be like, oh, it was Judge Doom. And you're like, you mean the guy who seemed evil right from the beginning? Big twist! And yes, there was a mystery.
The guy who murders a toon in full open view and like takes the law into his own hands.
Yeah, he's definitely the bad guy. That's no surprise there. So not really a twist, but there was a mystery. There was a
mystery.
There was a mystery. We did solve the question: who framed Roger Rabbit? The guy who was obviously evil. He's the one who framed Roger Rabbit.
That checks out.
So you had an honorable mention.
And he won't get away with it because the detective, who was a detective and not a police officer and doesn't really have any legal jurisdiction, ran him over with a steamroller.
It's true. And he's
and then dipped him.
And what's weird is he's also like legally a judge. So like he's a judge. Like they talk about how he won in like a corrupt race, but like he has legal jurisdiction over Toontown. So he just killed a sitting judge so far as the law is concerned. Yeah.
So I guess what I guess I'm saying is Eddie Valiant is going to go away for a long time and won't see the light of day for quite a while.
I mean, he will go away, but like off into the sunset singing a song with cartoons. Because that's how the movie ended.
Yeah.
What was your honorable mention, Jordan?
We didn't see the next day. My honorable mention is The Empire Strikes Back because the results came back and Darth Vader is the father.
And Jordan, the fact that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father is a
twist.
Jordan, say it.
I did. No, he's a twist.
You gotta say it's a big twist.
He's a big twist.
It's a big twist. It's a big twist that
He's a he's a big big twist.
That's funny because everyone always. My favorite thing is how people try to make the A New Hope constantly fucks people when it comes to canon because it's like in A New Hope, Darth Vader wasn't Luke Skywalker's dad. I know that's been talked to death. We're not going to relitigate it here, but it's the truth. If you pay attention to that first movie, he was not Luke Skywalker's dad. He was very much his own character, his like a separate character from Luke Skywalker's dad.
But in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, he was the father, and it was a big twist.
It was a big twist. But was there a mystery? Were we wondering whether or not?
No. So there wasn't.
There was a big twist, but no mystery.
No.
But
that was my honorable mention. Those are all my rapid fires. On with the show, Justin.
Yes. On to the main book reports. Jordan, what is your first book report of the ones you had seen?
Well, the first book report that I have of the ones that I have seen is a little movie from 1985 called Clue.
Clue? Oh, yes, Clue. Clue's amazing.
Clue.
I love Clue. That movie's so good. It
is campy and fun, and it is just enjoyable. And it has a lot of very talented actors and actresses in it too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd,
Michael
McKean,
Madeline
Kahn. Like it's just a whole
woman,
bunch.
The woman in the French maid outfit. She was one of my particular favorites.
Is a great actress because of her many talents.
She is a delight. She's a delightful actress.
Yes.
She's very good. Very good in that movie. Yes.
Anyway,
no, I do. It is
a fun little romp, and it also for me is a goal of if I ever make a movie, I want to just put out 5 different endings that go out to theaters everywhere, and nobody knows which one is the real ending, and I can sit back and laugh.
So I want to take it a step further and have multiple endings, and then put it on streaming, and then every day change the ending and not say anything. every day it's a different ending.
But you asked me the questions.
Was there a mystery?
There was absolutely a mystery. Who done it?
Who did
all the murders?
Who had done all the murders? And Jordan, big twist.
Well, I would absolutely say that particularly back in the day, there was a big twist because unlike me, I got all the endings. I got to see how each thing could have happened. But people, when they first watched this, it was absolutely a twist of you go and you talk to your buddy who watched it last week at a different theater 3 towns over and saw this one ending, and you saw this other ending, and you're left going like, okay, so wait, so then who did do it?
Yeah, right? And I don't think it was until the canon ending. They didn't know the canon ending until I think it went to video. I can't remember when they eventually announced the.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah, no, it was either A, B, or C, and nobody knew what the actual ending was until the whole thing where it said, "But this is how it actually happened." That wasn't until it came I want to say VHS, but you know what I mean, home video.
So, fun fact that I am just now, as of this moment, learning and bringing to you, the audience, is there was actually a 4th ending that was filmed.
Really?
But scrapped.
Really?
Yes.
What was it?
Because the Lynn removed it because he later said it really wasn't very good. I looked at it and I thought, no, we've got to get rid of that. And in that ending, Wadsworth committed all the murders. He was motivated by his desire for perfection. Having failed to be either the perfect husband or the perfect butler, he decided to be the perfect murderer instead. Wadsworth reports that he poisoned the champagne the guests drank so they would soon die, leaving no witnesses. The police and the FBI arrive and Wadsworth is arrested. He breaks free and steals a police car, but his escape is thwarted when 3 police dogs lunge from the back seat. This ending is documented in Clue, the storybook, a tie-in book released in conjunction with the film.
Oh, interesting. I mean, yeah, I think three's enough. Because you got two
Oh,
fake endings and a real ending. Like I think, I don't think a
and
fourth.
uh, another another interesting bit of trivia, which I'm also just now learning. Carrie Fisher was originally cast to portray Miss Scarlet,
I could see it.
but withdrew to enter treatment for drug and alcohol addiction.
Interesting.
Jonathan Lynn's first choice for Wadsworth was Leonard Rossiter, but he died before the filming commenced. The second choice, this would have been a very different movie if this had been what it was. But the second choice was Rowan Atkinson,
Who would he have been?
but it was decided that he would have been the character that Wadsworth. He would have been.
Oh, he would have been the butler. Oh, that would have been different.
Yeah,
That would have been very different.
that would have been a very different.
I don't. Yeah, man.
It
Tim
was
Curry
decided.
crushes that role so hard.
It was the reason why why he didn't do it was because he wasn't sufficiently known at the time.
Really?
Yeah,
What year is this?
1985.
Really? It's that old, huh? For some reason, I always thought that movie came out in the 90s.
And this was kind of ahead of its time. The entire cast received the same salary and billing, despite their different levels of notability at the time.
Really? That's also
Yeah,
interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. I think it's what 85. Oh yeah, Christopher Lloyd would have been huge. It would have been huge, and I think Martin Mull probably would have been too. Who's the biggest people in there?
apparently there was a book version, novelization,
Interesting.
based on the screenplay. And
Yeah.
they wrote Landis Lynn and Ann Matthews wrote a children's adaptation. Paramount Pictures presents Clue, the storybook.
Yeah. They used to do that, and then it probably had different scenes and stuff. Those are always fun. I have the Spider-Man 2 version of that in my Audible, where it's the movie
And
book.
yeah, in those novelizations, that's where you got the fourth ending.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't. I see why they cut it because the third ending is already with Wadsworth as the bad guy. So to do that twice is it's redundant. It's not any funnier.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And once again, you
Uh,
have one like two bad endings and one good ending. So it balances it better when it's two endings.
is there anything else I can say that's a fun? Uh, in 2011, they were developing a new version of the movie, which was dropped and then resumed as Hasbro teamed up with Gore to produce and direct. Uh, 2019. Hasbro sought a new rights deal for a Clue film in February 2024.
Interesting.
So we might in future episodes be able to talk about the 2020 whatever version
Yeah.
of Clue and compare it to the original.
I mean, it's a movie where I'm very much like it's a great you sit down with a group of friends and you put it on and you all drink while you watch it kind of movie. It's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
B movie. Like it's not a good movie by any sense of the imagination, but that's the fun in it. It's got this weird fun charm. And absolutely, it's like yeah, it's like it's like you got these actors to dress up as the characters and play
It's
a live.
like a murder mystery party.
Absolutely. Well, I was just gonna say it's like they're playing a dress up version of Clue, is what it's like. And
Yeah,
if you were
yeah.
to do, that's what I would do. I would. That's what if you were to do a remake of this, I would do like yeah, where it's just you show up and it's this. It's just they're doing dress up Clue.
In fact, if I ever could get a group of friends, a big enough group of friends to dress up and do like a murder mystery party, but it's themed around, I'd play like I'd go to
Oh, for sure.
a party and do this.
Oh,
Like
for
I'd
sure.
do that.
For sure.
Show up dressed up as like Colonel Mustard or whatever, and like
Yeah.
you have to solve and figure out like one of you dies or something, and you as the group have to figure out who did it. Yeah, that sounds dope.
I mean, what you do is you
If
have
there isn't a version, if there isn't a version of that game that already exists, then Hasbro needs to get on it and
Right?
put that out there, because that sounds like a fun evening.
Ship it with costumes or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. And like, I
Yeah.
mean, just have it where the person who dies is Mr. Body, and have that person be like the moderator or whatever. They're the ones reading the
Yeah.
instructions, and they're moderating the game. It's easy,
Yeah.
nice and easy. But yeah, absolutely. That's a detail I like about that movie, is how um how they use the names. Like they're like, that person
Yeah.
isn't
They're
Mrs. Peacock. They're
aliases.
aliases, and like that's a nice way to include the names, but not actually have to write a character called Miss Scarlet. Like it works. It
Yeah.
works for that movie. Where it's like, yeah, and they start to they're not the personalities, but they start to become the personalities of the characters in the game, and I like
Yeah.
that, because yeah, there are books. There's a series of children's books where there's a Mr. Green character, and he's Mr. Green, and it's they're all basically about solving a mystery, about who killed Mr. Body, and Mr. Body rarely gets to be a character, but yeah.
Um, but no, overall, I enjoy it. I'd recommend it. Um, and has a twist, has a mystery. It's a good movie.
Big
That's my first
twist.
pick.
Big twist. Okay, for me, my first pick is, I watched a movie called, it was a Sandra Bullock movie that I thought, I'm positive you've seen. You just don't remember. But it's called Murder by Numbers, and it's Sandra Bullock, and she is a police detective, and she is solving a homicide of two young men. One played by Ryan, not Reynolds, other Canadian, last name Baby Goose, Ryan Baby Goose.
Ryan Gosling.
Thank you, Ryan Gosling. It's Ryan Gosling, a young Ryan Gosling, and
Took my brain a second to get there.
I was like, Ryan Baby Goose.
It was my brain was the monkey that had the symbols, and it was going and then it put down the one symbol, it points at you, and it's like,
and it's
and
funny.
I'm like, oh, he's trying to figure Gosling. He's Gosling, Ryan Gosling.
It's funny because there's one more like main character in this, and I don't know the actor's name because I don't know that he was in anything else that I saw. But his character's name is Justin, which is maybe why this movie has stuck with me so many years, because so much of the climax is people screaming my name. But it's basically like, sorry, ask me the questions first, because we gotta talk about the
Does it have a twist?
big twist. No, kind of, sort of, yes, because I'll talk about the ending, but yes, there is.
And does it have a mystery?
Yeah, a little bit, but not. That's not so much like who done it as how they done it, and like how they done it, and how they, because the whole thing is, it's about two young men who have planned a murder, and they think they've committed the perfect murder, and they've committed this murder, and they framed it on their school janitor, and the whole concept is they want to prove philosophically that crime is just something you do. Like, there's no morality with, like, anyone can do a crime. Like, there's no real morality tied to it, which they prove wrong, because when he murders the girl, he feels guilty. And in the meantime, there's this whole subplot of Sandra Bullock's character is a detective who she got married in high school, and her ex-husband is a psychopath who stabbed her 17 times and is trying to. I can't believe you don't remember this movie. I keep waiting for you to stop me and be like, I remember that one.
No, not even a little bit.
And
I have no memory. I'm in fact even more convinced that you're crazy and I've never seen this.
Her ex-husband stabbed her 17 times and was trying to get out on parole. And he's trying to get her to show up for his parole hearing, which I'm like, it's kind of crazy that a guy who stabbed someone 17 times is getting out on parole, but I've been told that that's not as crazy as I think. So there's a twist. The whole thing is Ryan Gosling's character is this massive narcissist who is like, this would be so much easier if you had seen it. if you remembered seeing it or had seen it. But it comes across as though he's in love with Justin, like he's a
I mean, who's
narcissist.
not in love with Justin?
he
Justin's a pretty fantastic fellow. Ladies, he's
uh,
single.
he's
Hit him up.
he's Ryan. I'm gonna call him Ryan because I can't remember the actual character's name. Charles, I don't remember. Anyway, he's a real narcissist and he wants everyone to love him. And so that Justin is in love with this girl, and Ryan sleeps with her to be like, oh, she doesn't care about you. You should only care about me. And it kind of comes across like he's in love because he does a lot of like weird physical like holding onto his face like real close and like get real face to face. And so the big thing isn't so much like did they do it, because we see from the beginning that they did it. It's more how they did it. So it's more about Sandra Bullock slowly pulling apart the mystery and trying to figure out, like, she knows, even though they've like framed the janitor to make it look like it's just this crime of passion, but there's too many details that make it look like meticulous and planned. And like, because she's got this experience with having been attempted to be murdered, she's just like, this plan, it's been made to look like it's staged to look like it's a crime of passion, but she's like, but there's too many details that are thought out. So it's about her trying to prove that they did it. And the big twist at the end is you think that it's Ryan Gosling's character because he's this like sociopathic, psychopathic narcissist. You think, oh, he definitely killed the woman, because the question becomes about, well, who killed her is going to be the one who gets in trouble. And you think he did it. And then at the end, based on how Ryan Gosling's character is attacking Sandra Bullock, she works out that it was actually Justin the whole time. He's the one who killed her because Ryan Gosling like manipulated him into it. Which, like, my argument, it would be like any decent defense lawyer would be like, yeah, he did it, but he was manipulated and groomed into doing it, because a lot of the behavior that Ryan Gosling's character exhibits is very grooming like behavior. Like, he treats you nicely, he gives you stuff, he, just like a groomer would. So like, I would make the argument that character was groomed into doing a murder. But Sandra Bullock finds out that he did it and she's instantly like, ooh, you're a bad guy now. And it's like, well, I don't know. This movie's treating this like it's black and white, and it's not super black and white. And then yeah, there is a mystery, and the mystery is how they did it, which is surprisingly elaborate. They did think it out quite a bit, but it's an okay movie. If you like pulpy, if you really like the show Law and Order SVU, it's like a long form version of that show, and it's all otherwise pretty good. But yeah, that was the first one I had seen. That was Murder by Numbers. What's your second one you had seen?
Well, the second one that I've seen is both a movie and a book, and I watched / listened to both of them. It's called The Da Vinci Code.
Wait, you listened to a book?
I listened to an audio book.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought you like took the book and put it to your ears. Like, my ears have eyeballs.
Yes, that is exactly what I did.
I remember the thing I remember about that book is every chapter ends on a cliffhanger. Someone pointed that out to me as I was reading it or before I read it, and it was just a thing I couldn't unnotice. That literally every chapter ends on a cliffhanger.
I've never really paid attention to that, but I suppose,
because it's always like, oh, what's going to happen next? It's to trick you into reading the next chapter.
Interesting. The Da Vinci Code is a fascinating exercise of how do you take a 17-hour book, 17 or 18. I think it's 16 or 17 hours long.
It's not a long in terms of a word count. It's not a super long book, but I do get what you're saying.
No, but I'm like, how do you take that and turn it into like a 2-hour long movie? Because there's both a lot of stuff which I understand how you can trim out, but there's stuff which it's like it's integral, and then there's also just when you're making a movie, you have to realize that filming in certain places places just is not going to work.
Yeah.
So it's like certain places you have to cut out, and then on top of that, it's like, well, if you want to film at a place, you got to pay,
Yeah.
and you got to work around like potential audiences that are going to be there. Like there's so many logistical reasons as to why you might cut a scene.
I mean, yeah, that's just mentioning the fact that a lot of the old timey places that the story Da Vinci Code takes you, you know, legally allowed to film at all, whether or not you want to or not.
Yeah, exactly. But it's I mean, it, this might be a controversial opinion, but one of the reasons why I like the Da Vinci Code as a story is because the story in which they're trying to sell you that there's a secret cult, or not cult, secret group that have kept the actual the history of Jesus and his bloodline safe after all these
That
years,
have
and
weird
that the
eyes,
church wants to
that have weird
that that,
eyes,
that the
white
church
shut
wants to
orgies.
and that the church wants to hey man, that part is actually real. Or at least parts of it are real.
I mean, the
The
weird
priory
eyes
of Sion, the priory of
of Sion.
priory of Sion is a real thing.
Oh, it for sure is.
Um
But did they have weird eyes,
and
white shut
and
orgies? That's the question.
probably. Um but that's one of the things that I like about this story is that the stuff in it is believable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
At least to me, the idea that Jesus was a guy and that the church, a group of men who wanted to amass power, like did the whole like
Oh, there's
made people
certainly
believe that he was divine, and like
elements.
yeah, that all is very believable to me.
Here's what I'll say.
Um,
I did watch a video. I think I was telling you about it, but I watched a video about like the concept of like Jesus and Mary being married and how that's probably not true, but like fudging details of the story. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely could be true.
um, I just mean like the very basic level of Jesus was a guy, and the church covered that up.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is 100% believable to
Oh,
me.
for sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, the thing that's the most wild thing about. I mean, to be fair, I was definitely in this camp of people who like the fact that people think that Jesus wasn't real, and like there's Christians who don't think that Jesus was real, like a real person. They think it was more allegorical. One of the more interesting things I saw about um this person being like, yeah, I can't believe there are people who actually take the Bible literally. Like it's not meant to be taken literally. Like sure there is literal
It's
elements
it's,
to it, but like
it's
the
mostly metaphors.
yeah, he's like the analogy he always uses. He always goes to is it's like in Harry Potter how there's a platform 9 and a platform 10, but there's a platform 9 3/4. Like stuff get like you take stuff from real life, but there are elements of it that aren't real. Um,
Um, but it was just that the Da Vinci Code was on a much larger scale,
yeah.
and it talked about a subject which was inflaming.
Oh,
It
for
had a lot
sure.
of
Learning
people
that
up in arms about it.
that was the most wild thing because when that book was really popular, yeah, a lot of those books about like that stuff were becoming popular. I read one of them actually, but I just sorry, lost the train of thought. Yeah, there was a lot of books like that. Yeah, that's what it was. It blew my mind when I found out that people thought that people believed that it was based on a real thing. I thought that the concepts from the Da Vinci Code were all fictional, and it's then like reading about it and finding out that no, people have thought this for several decades. Like this is not a new
Like
conspiracy. It's very
there's a lot of
interesting.
stuff in the Da Vinci Code which is it's bits and pieces of truth, where it's like certain things are real, certain things are not, certain things he's just exaggerated or
Yeah.
like stretched it out to make it seem like for example the whole a big part of what he took is actually from a different I read this is actually from a different story from like the 1800s. The whole Jesus being the Sangreal and the Holy Grail and stuff. Uh, that it was a different book that he took that and put that into the Da Vinci Code.
Oh yeah. A lot of the Da Vinci Code is based off of. It's not a. It's not a nonfiction book. It's based off of I don't know if it's the book you're talking about, but a lot of it is based off of
I'm trying to find it.
a certain nonfiction book. All those ideas of like the holy Jesus having kids and him and Mary Magdalene being born. It's gonna turn to a theological podcast, but the what was it, the Testament of Mary, wife of Jesus or something. But I saw a video that was basically like the likelihood of him and Mary being married is probably very unlikely. I'll send it to you. It's actually very interesting.
Or like they, for example, things that you know, that are true, like, or that are real from it. Opus Dei is a real Catholic organization, for example.
Do they have secret flagellating assassins? Probably not, but no, it does exist.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but
I said likely not. They could exist. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying it's likely not.
But it's good. I enjoy it.
I mean, to be fair, the movie doesn't have that. I don't think the movie's nearly as good as the book. That's the one thing I remember being really disappointed by the movie. But to be fair, the movie doesn't have time. Like, the book spends a great deal of time explaining the backstory and explaining the lore and explaining everything that goes into this conspiracy, whereas the movie doesn't have time to do that. So it's like you miss out on a great deal of what makes that shit fascinating, makes that shit interesting.
Sorry, I'm just that's gonna bother me. I'm trying to find the name of the book that he used as inspiration.
Fair enough.
So keep asking me questions while I do that.
Tom Hanks is probably a bad choice for that role. I think we can both agree on that.
I would say I would say that he is. He's not the wrong. He's the wrong age. Like, if you had younger Tom Hanks, I think he would be perfect for it. But he does a pretty good job.
I believe that.
I don't think I'm gonna find
Paul Bettany.
I don't think I'm gonna find this.
Paul Bettany is the.
Paul Bettany.
He's the albino.
Yeah, he's Silas. And what's weird for me and
isn't Alfred
I'm not going to find the name of that. But the thing that's weird for me when I go from the book to the movie version is in the book. So does Paul Bettany, the actor, not the character in this, but does the actor does he generally have like an accent?
Yeah,
is that like his normal way of?
He's English. He's from England. He's an English actor.
No, but in this he does like the French thing.
Yeah, he's supposed to. Well, the character's supposed to be Spanish, I thought. Pretty sure it's supposed to be.
The character is born in French, and then he spends some time with the Ringarosa, who's a Spanish, like he's in Spain. But then in the book, he speaks with an American accent.
Oh,
because he grew up in America. That's why I'm like, does Paul Bettany speak with an like does he have?
There's a great deal
like,
of that's part of why
they made him like he in the movie he talks like this, where he has like kind of like he has the
characters, and it's like speaking in French and Spanish. It's annoying.
That for them to do that in the movie but not in the book is weird. Like that's an interesting choice to me, I guess, was my point.
But is it that he's speaking with an American accent, or the narrator who's reading the book is reading it with an American accent and he's described as being Spanish?
He is speaking with it, because there's moments where where characters like pretend to have accents when they don't, kind of thing, and he will change the way that he's reading it so that it reflects that.
Gotcha.
So like for example, and this touches into the question that you haven't asked me of, is there a twist?
Is there a twist? No, sorry, big twist.
Yes. I would say that there's a couple. There's the twist of Lee Teabing is the teacher.
More than one big twist? Isn't he a bad guy? Doesn't it turn out he's a bad guy?
he does turn out to be the bad guy, which,
Don't they cut that out of the
the
movie?
first time. No, no, that's
No.
still in the movie.
There's something about
Um,
one of the characters they cut out of the movie that I remember, and I can't remember which one. It's either the policeman, the priest, or it's either the policeman or the priest.
well,
One of them is
they don't.
more. He's like,
Yeah, I was just gonna say they don't cut them out in the movie, but they strip them down to their most basic things. They're way both the priest and Bezu Fash are way more, in my opinion. They have way more to do in the book.
yeah, like well, I know that
Um,
one of them is like in one of them they're more morally gray, and the other one they're more straight up just bad. They're just more straight up bad guys, and I can't remember which way it
yeah,
is.
that would be both of them in my opinion. Um,
Because
but
like the fact that he's one of the bad guys with Bizu Fash, that's the police officer, right? Like that's in the book, that's big twist.
yeah,
That's supposed to, but in the
well,
movie, it's not really.
he's getting manipulated, and no, in both they are a twist. It's just that the book has more time to ramp up the twist,
Yeah,
to
because
twist the twist.
to be fair, it's been a while since, but I don't they reveal that he's
He's Opus Dei, and
yeah, he's
you
like,
find that out right from the beginning.
but in the book, isn't it like not till quite a ways in that you find that out? I remember in the
No,
book it's a
no,
big
you
twist, in the movie it's not.
no. Those scenes are pretty much the same in both
Oh, okay.
things. Where it's like it's when Langdon is in the elevator or whatever, and he notices the pin on Fash's thing, and in the book Fash explains what it is, whereas in the movie you kind of just see it, and I think they kind of like they don't really say what it is. Like you're supposed to just see that it's there.
Oh,
Like there's a lot of things where it's like in the book they go into overt detail about like because obviously it's a book. They
yeah,
have to like talk about all the things you're seeing, whereas in a movie you just see it.
yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
You
Never
know,
mind.
it's the difference between a book and a movie visual telling.
True.
But so yes, the other big twist is that the Sophie Neveu, the the person that we've been, spending time with this entire time, is actually a living descendant of Jesus
She's
Christ.
baby Jesus.
Also, also big the character that you're thinking of that's cut out in the movie, is in the book when they go to Roslyn Church. The docent that's there is Sophie's brother,
Right. Right.
who is alive, whereas he's not. They don't do that in the
Right.
movie.
Right. And
Also, T-Bing in the book is described as, and no, no, Sophie is also described as a redhead, but in the book, uh, very different than the old man, uh, uh, McKellen that we get
yeah, I
in
remember
the
Ian
movie.
McKellen being like, "This
Um,
feels like a miscast." That's one thing I do remember about that.
in the book, he's described as a polio victim who has like red curly hair, and he's a fat,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
portly man.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember I think I said Stephen Fry. I pictured the guy I showed you the picture of. Like to me, I pictured more
Um,
him.
but what's funny is like when he talks, like the British accent that the person's reading it in, it's very like I can picture Ian McKellen. Like it sounds
Interesting.
like a high imperious kind of like British person, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I understand why they went with the choice that they went with. I get it from a movie perspective, but it is very different than the book.
He's one of the ones I remember being. No, I don't. Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't get it. Um,
Um, and yes, there is absolutely a mystery.
there is a mystery. There is, but a
They
twist.
have to, they have to, uh, uh, get show that Landon is actually innocent, that he didn't murder Saunier, while also finding the Holy Grail.
Finding the Holy Grail, which isn't guarded by a knight in this one.
What?
The Holy Grail, it's guarded by a knight who protects it.
In my version, there's no there's the fourth seneschal,
That's what I'm saying. I'm
fourth
saying.
seneschal,
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
and the Grand Master, but they're dead.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
no, in terms of the movie, there's not really anyone defending it
That's what
anymore.
I'm saying. There isn't like a knight who's been alive for hundreds of years guarding it.
Oh, there isn't a knight. I thought you
No,
said there is,
no,
and
there's
I was
not.
like, what? No.
No, there's
Okay, well,
not.
we've gone on a vast tangent here describing how there both is and is not.
There's not.
So that was my last pick of what I have seen. We're gonna now steadily cruise into the last one that you've seen, and keep this train rolling.
The last two I'd seen, last two, I watched the movie Split, which is James McAvoy. What if he's one guy, but what if he was one guy inside, multiple people inside of one guy, and he kidnapped 3 girls, and it was vaguely molesty. Is that an incorrect
I see.
description? Would you say?
I mean, it certainly has a person that has multiple personalities. That's for sure.
Part of that is technically accurate. Jordan, you gotta ask me the questions.
Does it have a twist?
Kind of.
Go on. There is no half measures here, Justin.
Oh.
We're binary. We are one thing or the other. Remember, we stuck our foot in that sticky wobbly mess.
I suppose technically there is one. And Jordan, you didn't ask the other question.
You could maybe say that there's a spectrum and that there's plenty of choice about whether or not there's a twist.
Not all twists are created equal. Jordan, you didn't ask the other question.
Is there a mystery?
Kind of.
So, like, there's a spectrum of, like, some things can be more mysterious than others, you know? There's not yet one or the other.
There's a mystery about, like, sort of what is his deal and who he is and, like, why he's taken them. But it's not a big mystery. It's not a... And yes, there is a twist, and the big twist is that, Jordan, this was actually secretly a sequel to Unbreakable the whole time. And, like, people take that for granted now, but at the time it was like, whoa, that's unexpected. And in terms of it being a sequel to Unbreakable, it's not very good. It's not a good sequel to Unbreakable. It's an okay movie in its own right. And, like, one thing I sort of appreciated about it this time as compared to the last times I've watched it is, once again, because I'm paying attention of it for a thing, I definitely, like, picked up on more. And, like, I understood more. I understood more about, like, the mechanics of how Kevin works, for lack of a better word. So, like, the idea that they're all in a room and they're all sitting in chairs, and, like, how Hedwig has the power to just, like, give the light to anybody he wants, and, like, how he's teamed up because they tricked a 9-year-old. And, like, how Barry, the fashion designer one, he's kind of the main one. Yeah. The performances are good. James McAvoy is really good. His ability to anytime, like, I guess now because I've done a bunch of quote unquote performing, but, like, seeing a person snap in and out of, like, 4 or 5 characters in, like, a minute, and they're all different, and you can all tell who they are just by the way he holds his face and says the dialogue or uses the voice, or it's impressive. It's an impressive. But this is one of those ones where it's interesting because the first time you watched it, you hadn't seen Unbreakable, and so that big twist meant absolutely nothing to you. And you liked the movie. You thought the movie was... I remember you saying you liked the movie was good, but my friend who didn't know the twist and didn't care about Unbreakable didn't think it was good. So it's just interesting how, like, my like of it was increased by the fact that, oh, it's a sequel to Unbreakable. But...
And I just sort of liked it on the merits of its own movie.
But my thing is, like...
And I have to be honest, the thing that sold me on it, the thing that it is definitely an example of the actor elevates the material.
Oh, for sure.
I think the reason why I was able to enjoy it is because I had such a respect for McAvoy for his portrayal of each character each alter that he has feels different, and like the commitment to it is just absolutely there, and it elevates what would otherwise be kind of just a generic horror movie.
Yeah. And my thing about it is, like, the reality of it is what's annoying. It's because part of what I liked about Unbreakable was you were never quite sure whether or not it was real or not, and whether or not Glass was just a psychopath who was crazy, who was insane, and believed there were superheroes and there wasn't, because what is Bruce Willis's superpower, he's slightly stronger than a regular man. And he if he touches people, it's weird because the second movie is like, oh, he's supposed to have ESP, but like, oh, he only gets flashes or ideas of things, but like when we see it from the audience perspective, we just straight up see like the future, or like we see what's happening simultaneously, or we can read their minds. So it's never quite clear about what exactly his powers are. And then we move into Glass, which I also watched, which we're just gonna save time. Big twist, yes, no mystery. The big twist, that movie was frustrating because it wants to try and convince you as an audience member that maybe the superhero stuff isn't real, like that maybe it's all in James McAvoy and Bruce Willis's head, but that doesn't work because we literally see them do superhero shit. So like, and it's not like questionable superhero shit. It's like he's climbing on walls in ways that defy physics. And she's like, oh, well, maybe there are, there's rock climbers that could hold on to like little bitty spaces. It's like, yeah, but there has to be a ledge for you to grab onto. No human can touch sheer surface.
Spider-Man.
Unless you're Spider-Man, exactly. So no, it doesn't, that you wouldn't, like, no, you're saying, or like Bruce Willis, he like rips off a car door, he stops a car. Like, no human can lift that kind of weight. So we know that they have superpowers. So you convincing me that he doesn't have superpower doesn't really work. And so if I were to fix that movie, I'd be like, it needs to be more ambiguous. It's not ambiguous enough that superpowers are real. Like, it's way too evident that is. So then at the end, the big twist is that, oh yeah, superpowers are real, and that basically the bulk of that movie is, I don't know if you remember the end of Split, but the end of Split, it's implied and it's set up that the next movie is going to be a big Bruce Willis from Unbreakable fights James McAvoy from Split. That's the idea.
Yeah.
And you're really set up on this, like, it's going to be a big fight kind of movie. And the beginning of the movie is Bruce Willis is trying to find James McAvoy because apparently Split only takes place like 3 weeks after, or Glass takes place 3 weeks after Split, which I had no idea. I thought it took place like a year afterwards. But he's looking for James McAvoy, and he finds him in a warehouse, and they both get captured because people have heard about Bruce Willis, and he's beating up criminals and stuff, and they're like, yeah, no, we don't do that in the real world. And they're also looking for James McAvoy. So they find both of them, and they put him in this insane asylum where Samuel L. Jackson's character from Unbreakable is also at. And there's a doctor who's essentially trying to convince them that none of them are superheroes or supervillains, and all of this superhero stuff is nonsense. And the bulk of the movie takes place in this insane asylum, which is not a bad idea in and of itself, to be like, oh, to subvert the idea that you're going to get this big superhero fight. But it doesn't make it ambiguous. So you're just like, yeah, they're superheroes. They can fight. Bruce Willis rips a door off of a car. Like, they're very clearly superheroes. So then it arrives at the twist at the end where it turns out that the doctor lady who's been treating them the whole time, she works for a secret organization that turns out superheroes are real. Comic books are based on real superheroes. And there's a secret organization of people that kills both superheroes and supervillains to prevent them from rising up and create balance, because it's not fair that certain people should have special powers over others. And so they come in and they kill Bruce Willis, they kill Samuel L. Jackson, and they kill James McAvoy. And then that's how that movie ends.
That sounds like a terrible ending.
And then they drown Bruce Willis in a puddle.
I almost don't believe you and feel like you're just screwing with me.
You know what? Watch it. No, it's not. I think it's on anything. Split was on Prime. I think I had to search it out through other means. Because I think you should watch it. But no, it literally ends with them drowning Bruce Willis in a puddle. I am not making that up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because his weakness is he can't swim, so he drowns in water. So they literally just drown him in a puddle, and they shoot James McAvoy, and then he just kind of dies sadly. because the idea being that like the entire movie is you think that Samuel Jackson is going to break out James McAvoy and they're going to go to this tower and kill a bunch of people, and the whole idea is they're building up to this big showdown. And this group of secret people, they're like, no, we can't have that. And then the movie ends with Samuel L. Jackson revealing comic book like superheroes to the world. But it's kind of ridiculous because it's like it wants to be like, oh, superheroes exist, but it doesn't do that thing where like it creates its own superhero universe, so it's at least a little believable. And it's like, oh no, Batman was real. Like, it's like it has actual, like, they've licensed, I'm guessing, WB characters. So they're like, yeah, no, Superman's real. It's like, no, Superman's is a fictional character. But the concept of Superman does exist in the real, like, it's like that. It's very confusing. So it's one of those things where, it's funny, because you said that I told you not to watch that. I can't believe that I would say not to watch it. I'm sitting where I'm sitting now. I would recommend watching it because, once again, James McAvoy's so good. His ability to switch between those characters and you get way more of the Beast. So his physical, like, when he's the Beast, he's massive. His physical performance is so good. And there's more personalities. So there's a scene where they're in the insane asylum, and to prevent them from escaping, I guess M. Night Shyamalan's idea is that, because you know how they refer to each of the characters get the light? Well, in Glass, that turns out to be literal, because they just flash a light in his face, and you just change his personalities instantly. So, like, every time they try to, like, run away or escape, it'll flash them in the face, and it'll turn into a different character. And because...
Interesting.
Because Hedwig can just steal the light from whomever he wants, he'll switch to a character, and the character will be temporarily confused, and it'll be like, this is why I'm doing so. It's like, it becomes like Civil War, where like certain factions are for the Horde and certain factions are against the Horde. And they'll be like, I apologize for taking the Horde side, but this is why I had to do it. And then Hedwig will take it back and then try to escape again, and then I'll switch to another character. And it's quite an impressive performance in an otherwise not very good movie. It is like a substantial downgrade. Like, don't go into it thinking it's going to be like as good as Split, which like upon a third viewing is not as good as I remember it being the first time. But yeah, it's otherwise an all right movie. So yeah, I think I said big twist, but not really much of a mystery. So with that, what's your we move into the shit we hadn't seen. What is the first one you hadn't seen, Jordan?
Oh, the first one that I have not seen is called Knives Out, which I think you recommended last week.
I did recommend it last week when I was like mysteries was the first one, because if you didn't watch it, I was gonna, because it's good.
It's good. It's a good movie. It's enjoyable.
So okay,
ask the questions.
I'm gonna approach this differently, because I'm curious. So start off with big twist.
Yes, kind of. If you're stupid.
Second, is there a mystery?
There is, but you hold a lot of the answers pretty quick.
So, okay, then additional questions. How quickly did you figure out... Okay, spoilers for Knives Out. Go watch Knives Out. I know I've said this a bunch, but this is one that genuinely you should go watch because it's really good. How quickly did you figure out it was Chris Evans?
I didn't trust him right from the beginning, because it's like, well, his entire family doesn't like him. Why are we supposed to trust him?
Yeah. I think there's a moment where I doubted myself. I figured it out pretty quickly, early on, but there's a moment where I doubted myself for sure.
The one thing that did surprise me that I thought they were going to go is I thought it was going to end up. I thought we were going to go the route that the dad faked his death and was like basically wanted to cut ties with the family, go off, live on a beach somewhere where they would he would never have to deal with any of them again. So he's I faked my death, and I'm leaving everything to you, so that I can fuck off and go live my life without them wanting everything from me.
I can see why you would say that, because it definitely got the idea that Chris Evans was too obvious. That's why I kept doubting myself. Where I was like, he feels too obvious. Where it's like he's the obvious choice.
Like he comes in, he swoops in, and he immediately wants to help her and is trying to help her, and it's like none of the rest of his family trusts him, and yet you are for some reason.
He's too helpful.
Why? Why would you?
He's too immediately
So it's
helpful.
like that's where I say, yeah, it's a twist if you're dumb.
Yeah, exactly. That's what but that's the thing I kind of like about this movie because it really is a really good breadcrumb mystery. Where like if you follow the clues, that's where I'm saying like compared to like a Sherlock Holmes one where it's like the bad guy is just a bad guy. Like, oh, it's just Moriarty. This is like yeah, if you pay attention and you're watching that movie, you can pick up on who it is pretty quickly. Certainly, you can follow the mystery along with I fucking love Daniel Craig in those movies, man. He's so good.
Oh, he's so good in this one.
As Benoit.
They're all good. They're all really good.
Yeah, I would encourage you to watch the other one as well, the second one, just for fun because that one's also.
Yeah, fun. I'm interested to see how you make a sequel to this.
I mean, it's kind of he's a similar character. We're gonna talk about. Spoiler alert for the future of this episode, but we're gonna talk about Murder on the Orient Express, which influences your guy a shit ton. A lot of your shit came from my shit. It's kind of remarkable. But you basically just drop him in another mystery. Essentially, you have him get invited to another location, and you have him.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I didn't think that we would follow him. Yeah, okay. I was more thinking like the main character for me in this is the girl. So I'm like, how do you make a sequel with her?
Yeah, you don't. It becomes a Blanc mystery. So it's about him coming in and solving a new mystery. That's what the second one's about. I don't know why I'm saying this hypothetically. That's what the second one's about. New mystery, new bad guys, new suspects.
But no, I really I did enjoy this one.
I remember. I know there's a point where I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but if I recall correctly, isn't there a point where they do a quick red herring where there was one moment where I started to doubt myself. Where I was like, oh, maybe there's a few not.
There's a few red herrings in there, and I mean, I could see how certain people could be fooled, but pretty much as soon as I saw Chris Evans and the way that he was acting, I was like, it's him. I mean, it's either him, or it's all of them, and they were all in on it, which I also could have believed.
That's also interesting that you went there. Keep that in mind. So, is there anything else you want to say about Knives Out?
It's enjoyable. Go watch it.
Yeah, right.
I've spoiled the twist, so that'll be ruined for you.
You knew that's what you were getting into.
Go watch the steps of how you get to that point.
For sure, yeah, for sure. That's why when people are like, by the way, do you know who directed it? Just offhand. Don't look it up. Don't cheat. You're cheating.
I'm cheating.
I can see your eyes. I can see what you're doing.
Ryan Johnson.
You violated the spirit of the question. You're supposed to guess. Yes, it's Ryan Johnson.
I'm guessing it's Ryan Johnson.
You're not guessing. I can literally see you looking. Oh, you cheater!
It's definitely Ryan Johnson.
You filthy cheater. But that's why when people are like Ryan Johnson,
I was never gonna guess that.
You just watched it. You could have guessed it. When people say Ryan Johnson is a bad filmmaker, I'm like, no, he's not a bad filmmaker. He makes good movies. Knives Out is a good movie. The Glass Onion, the sequel to this one, is a good movie. Like, they're good movies. But
yeah,
okay.
No, I enjoyed it.
So what was the second one? What was the second one that you hadn't seen, Jordan?
Shutter Island.
So let's do this.
It's funny that we talked about. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
Close to Da Vinci. That we talked about him earlier.
So let's start this big twist.
Yeah.
Big twist.
Oh yeah.
Big twist.
Oh yeah.
Is there a mystery?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say so.
Did you figure out the twist on your own?
Yes and no aspects of it. I couldn't remember if what I had thought about it was true or not. Like I didn't know, but I did suspect pretty early on that he was a patient. Just the way there's a number of tells One of which being I can never remember Ben
Oh,
Knight Ben
Mark Ruffalo.
Ben Kingsley Ben no the other one
The one who's the doctor.
the yeah
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, that's what I thought. I knew it was
Yeah,
Ben something.
yeah.
Um,
You're almost
the
there.
way that him and like the orderlies and all the people treat Leonardo DiCaprio, where it's like you almost get like a vibe of like, oh, like he's cute, we're gonna let him run
Yeah,
through like it
yeah, for
feels
sure.
like they're letting him make believe.
Yeah.
Um,
I figured out that this is one of those ones where I was just gonna do this for my half scene, because I was really curious if I watched it and actually paid attention to it. Um, it's a movie I remember watching because I guessed the twist immediately. It's when they're because correct me if I'm wrong, the movie opens they're on the boat, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and Mark Ruffalo is there.
yeah.
So, um, I so I guess just
And they and they get off and they have to surrender their
yeah.
guns and Leonardo is like, no.
So
Leo is like, I don't want to.
I think it's the way Mark Ruffalo handles his gun. It's like he handles the gun, in the way a person who has never actually handled a gun would. Like it was in the way that a police officer would never handle a gun, if I recall. But there's something about Mark Ruffalo and the way Mark Ruffalo behaves that I instantly went,
Well, one of the
it's
things,
all in his head. I was just like, it's all in his head.
oh,
Instantly.
one of the things
I
for
remember
me
turning to my friend and being like,
that as I was watching it, one of the things for me that did get me kind of was, um, I didn't think Mark Ruffalo was real.
well, but that,
I thought for sure that he was going to be just in Leo's head.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we both picked up on Mark Ruffalo though. Like I instantly picked up on Mark. Like there's something about Mark Ruffalo. I went, it's all in his head. Just instantly. I'll never. I was in a movie theater and I turned to my friend and I went, it's all in his head.
But he wasn't. He was real.
No, but it was.
Which like I was like,
I figured I think I figured he was a doctor. I think, but it was just something about the way Mark Ruffalo behaves
no,
when he
I thought
first
I
on the
thought
boat.
I thought he was a figment.
Honestly, no, I didn't think he was a figment, but I knew that the whole scenario was in
Yeah,
Leo's head.
it was. Yeah, that's fair. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for me, the thing that surprised me at the end was when they were like, no, he's the doctor, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think he was
No,
going to
I
be a
would have
real
never.
person,
And like
because at a certain point, he just sort of disappears and isn't there anymore, and I'm
yeah.
like, if he was his doctor, he would never have let him out. He's very irresponsible for you to let him out of his sight at all.
And what's crazy is I've seen this movie on lists of people, and this part of what made me want to do Big Twist is I've seen this movie on lists of people saying it's such a great twist. I never saw it coming, and I was like, it blows my mind because I was like, I saw it coming. Like I saw it coming. So it's just wild to me that people didn't see it coming.
Definitely, there was aspects of it which I didn't guess, but like I knew he was a patient pretty early on,
Yeah.
just by the way that everyone treats him. The fact that he eventually ends up wearing like the he's no longer in his little detective
He's just
outfit
straight
anymore.
up in an outfit. Yeah.
Like at that point, I'm like, okay, they've whatever. But no, the thing that I was like, okay, well, I didn't necessarily see that was when they were like, no, you are the person that you've been hunting for, and I'm like, okay, yeah,
he killed his.
Okay.
When I get to the backstory part, it was like, yeah, he killed his wife, who killed his children. Okay, so here's another question for you. Do you think he was faking at the end?
No, yeah.
You think he was
faking? He was faking, absolutely. Absolutely, he was faking in the end because he like he says to the doctor something to the effect of like, "Would you rather live with a terrible truth, or be able to pretend
and die?"
And like the doctor does we're not. He's gonna have to be lobotomized. Thing.
Yeah, well, and he's like, and what's up, partner?
He
like,
looks back, he looks back at the doctor, and it's implied that he knows. So he knows what he's fully lucid in that moment, but he's choosing to be lobotomized because the pain of what he did and what he knows happened is too great, and he'd rather not have to deal with it.
So do you think that again? Because there's people who think that he he maybe was lucid up until that moment and he lost that lucidity, or or was he lucid the whole time, or did he stop at lucidness? Like at one point, I do think that he chose to be lobotomized at the end. I'm just, in this instance, I'm also playing devil's advocate, but I do believe that he did know.
I do. I think that once they broke through to him and they like that, they have that entire scene. He remembers it all, and it's just too painful to live with.
Yeah, yeah. But no, otherwise it's funny. Yeah, I didn't like it the first time. I just remember the music. The music I thought was grating. And that was one of those movies for years. I was like, this is such a bad movie, and everyone would be like, Justin, you're wrong. It's a good movie.
My thing is that it's a little bit long.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Like other than that, I didn't really have any issues with it. It didn't pass the phone test. I checked my phone a couple times. Like it ran a little long for me. But otherwise, it's a good movie.
It's probably my least favorite Scorsese film. Like I just didn't. It's just like certainly my least favorite Leo Scorsese film. My favorite Leo Scorsese film is always going to be Wolf of Wall Street. Love Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't know that I've watched a lot of Scorsese movies.
You've seen at least 2.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen this and I've seen Wolf of Wall Street.
I'm trying to think if there's another one. Have you seen Goodfellas?
I don't think so.
No. I feel like Hugo. Hugo. You've seen Hugo?
Have I?
Yeah, that's the one where it's the kid. He's in the train station, and it's about the guy who created the first movie, where the moon gets shot in the eye. I know you've seen it. We watched it together, and I've seen it twice. I watched it with the friend once.
I'll take your word on that one. But anyways, that's my last have not seen. Let's keep this train rolling. What 2 ones did you not see, Mr. Spurr?
I was gonna say you could be forgiven if you didn't realize that was a Scorsese film, because that movie's very whimsical, and as you can tell, his movies are not super whimsical. Anyway, the first one I watched, I hadn't seen, I watched Murder on the Orient Express, and that movie.
So what you watched was essentially Murder, but on a train.
But on a train, yeah. It's kind of wild how. So it's based on a 1930-something Agatha Christie novel, and the very rough plot of it is. There's a murder. It's on a train, and yeah, it's a detective.
That's a very basic plot summary. There's a murder. It's on a train. They solved the murder. And it was on the train.
There's a series of characters on the train. They're all suspicious, and they all have various reasons or motivations for wanting to have the person who dies die. And it's about a famous detective named. I'm gonna fuck up his name. I'm pretty sure it's Poirot, and he's one of those, like, he's been in like 30 books, and it's the same thing as yours. He shows up. There's a murder, and he solves it, and he was in like
and most importantly, because this can't be stated enough, it was on a train.
It was on a train, and he's a colorful character. It makes me wonder if Doctor Who was based on this character. Because it's like he shows up, there's a bunch of secondary characters, and he takes charge and has to solve what's going on. He has to figure out what's going on and figure out who's behind it and how to stop it. And he has a catchphrase. His catchphrase is Allons-y.
Allons-y?
Like legit.
I mean, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Murder on the Orient Express came first. But to be fair, the movie version of it I watched was from 2017. So I don't know if the Doctor is based on the character or if this performance is based off the Doctor Who. But he's kind of eccentric and kind of high energy. And yeah, there's that episode of Doctor Who where it's the Murder on the Orient Express, and yeah, you can tell it's based. Your character is pretty much just Poirot, except for the difference being is your guy is like Kentucky, from Kentucky, has a Kentucky fried accent, and my guy has a French accent. What I liked about it was it's funny that you're like, I considered that maybe it was all of them, because that's the resolution to mine, where it turns out he's like he's going through the mystery, he's solving the thing, and he keeps getting stuck on the fact that he's like one person couldn't have done this, And he's like, there's just no way. If like the person did this, but in order to do this, they would have had to do this. And in order to do this, they would have had to do this. And he's like, none of it lines up. And so then at the end, it turns out that they all did it, because basically, the victim, there's a again, it takes place in Victorian times, all various types of Victorian people, and one of the characters is Johnny Depp. He's this criminal played by Johnny Depp, who is like a racketeer or whatever. He steals art, and he is concerned that he's being followed because he's been sent a bunch of threatening letters or whatever, and it turns out that he ends up getting murdered. Big shot. He's the murderer on the Orient Express, and it all turns out that everyone on the train, everyone on the train, all knows him in one form or another. And it turns out that he is actually a murderer who kidnapped and murdered the daughter of this soldier. And all the people on the train are either his friend or coworker or relative or newer relative or a sister of the victim of this murderer. And so they all have motive for wanting to kill him. And so then it turns out at the end that they did it. They all killed him. They all killed him together. But he was a murderer who killed this girl. So the detective, who initially starts off as this, like, everything is black and white. It's either right or wrong. Either you're good or you're bad.
Would you say there's a twist?
There's definitely a twist. There's definitely a big twist. There's a big twist, and there's a mystery.
And there's a mystery?
There's most certainly a mystery.
There's a mystery and a twist? A twist and a mystery?
Well, what's kind
on a train?
What's kind of interesting, though, is like, yeah, he's a character who starts off, he's very much like black and white, good and evil. You're either a murderer or you're not. And so it gets to the end, and he deduces that, yeah, they all did it. And it's basically like, oh, does he turn all these people in who killed a murderer, or does he just accept that, like, does he accept vigilante justice, essentially? Because obviously this is Victorian times, figuring out a guy who has an alias is a bit tougher. Or he's like, or does he just, like, he has this initial theory that this assassin jumped in through a window, killed him, and then left because this train is trapped. And so he's like, I could just say it's an assassin and not say anything, or I have to turn you in. And he's like, my code forces me to turn you in. And then he comes to the conclusion at the end that, oh, maybe not everything is like black and white. Maybe there's shades of gray. And this one time I can see the shades of gray, and he just walks away and lets them get away with it. Because he's like, the morality is that, yeah, he's a murderer. He technically, theoretically earned this by my code. But it's a good movie. It's very stylistic. Like I said, the mystery was good. It was interesting. I was compelled, and I liked the way it was presented. The mystery was definitely interesting. But yeah, that was Murder on the Orient Express.
Was it the butler that did it?
It was not. It was everybody. Everybody did it.
Because 70%, 7 out of 10 butlers will murder you if you turn your back on them.
They will do it. And then the second
dentists say.
And then the second the second thing I watched, which I hadn't seen, was
keep this train rolling.
I watched 7, and it's
not 8.
Not 8. No, it's David Fincher, same as yours. It's the guy who did Fight Club, and it's basically there's a serial killer, and he's killing people according to the 7 deadly sins. So the first guy he murders is a glutton.
Is there a twist?
There is a twist. There is a twist. Yes. Well. Yes. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I guess there is a twist. Yeah.
And a mystery.
Yeah. I mean, not in like a whodunit, because they do eventually discover who done it, but the guy who done it is a John Doe. Like, literally, his name is John Doe, and he's, like, erased all of his identity. So you never really find out what his deal is or what he wants. He just kind of is just killing these people to, like, send a message. It's kind of implied that it's just because he's a religious nutcase, but it's never really fully explained. And the big twist is basically...
A twist?
It's Brad Pitt and it's Morgan Freeman. And their Morgan Freeman is his last week on the job, and he's a grizzled detective, and he's looking to retire. And Brad Pitt is the young upstart, and they're solving this murder, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And they they wind up at the guy's house accidentally, and they wind up chasing him or whatever, and the John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey, turns himself in and is like, I've killed 7 people, because he's 7 deadly sins.
What a twist!
But they've only discovered 5. He's like, I'll tell you where the last 2 are, but you have to take me there. And so they like go through all this extra work to take him out to the desert, and they take him out to the desert. He's like, what time is it? And he's like, it's 7 o'clock. And this guy in a van pulls up, and he's got a box. That's where, if you've ever heard anyone go, "What's in the box?" It's a reference to 7.
What's in the box?
I'm about to
What's
tell
in
you.
the box?
He pulls up.
What's in the box? I need to know.
This guy pulls up, and all these cops pull him out of the truck, and he hands Morgan Freeman a box. He's like, it's addressed to Brad Pitt. I'm supposed to give it to him exactly at 7, and he opens it up, and he looks at it, and he's like, oh shit, and he starts running back, and Kevin Spacey starts monologuing and stuff. It's like how he envied him or whatever, and it turns out that because the murder victims so far had been glutton, where he had fed the guy so much his stomach exploded. Greed. He murdered a corporate defense lawyer who was defending scumbags. Lust, where he forced a guy at gunpoint to wear a dildo with a sword on it, like a big thick blade like that long, and forced him to have sex.
So he sawed him.
Sawed her. Forced him to have sex with a prostitute.
Sawed her.
And it's a really upsetting scene because this guy's describing what he did to this poor woman, and like this vulgar way, and it keeps showing the picture of the thing that he used, and it's just this like upsetting knife, and you're like, oh my god, this is upsetting. And then I can't remember what the last one, but there's 2 left, and so he opens the box. Oh, sloth. Sloth was one of them. Like I can never figure out what sloth means.
Sloth is like, being like apathetic and lazy.
Is it apathy? Okay, because he does it. He gets a guy with sloth, and I can't remember how he gets him with sloth.
Something like that.
But
And then there's wrath.
Anyway, he has him out at the desert, and Morgan Freeman opens the box, and his eyes go wide. He's like, holy shit, and he starts running over to Brad Pitt and Kevin Spacey, and Kevin Spacey's basically like, I went to your place earlier today, and I put on your clothes, and I tried to be you, and I realized I was never going to be you, and I became envious. So that's my sin. I'm envious. And in my rage, I killed your wife, Brad Pitt, and I cut off her head. And that's what's in the box. And he's like, yeah. So Morgan Freeman's like, don't shoot him. If you shoot him, you give him exactly what he wants. And Brad Pitt is like, I don't want to. Is my wife actually dead? And he's like, yeah, I killed your wife. Cut off her head. And so then Brad Pitt shoots him in the head, and shoots him a bunch, and he becomes Wrath. He's the final sin.
Interesting.
And that's the big twist. It's got a really upsetting ending. And then they take Brad Pitt away, and he's gone. He's like, yeah, just get him the help he needs. It's like, yeah, I feel like people would probably like cut him a break based on the circumstances. But yeah, no, it's a good twist. It's really upsetting movie, really well done. I can say I love David Fincher. I like most of his movies. He did, obviously, you watched Fight Club today. He also has done The Social Network, which you watched for previous week. And yeah, this was good. I like his editing style, and I like his dialogue. Although some of the dialogue was weird in this one, but I, for the most part, like his dialogue. It's pretty good, pretty solid movie. Totally worth checking out. You should check it out one day. It's pretty good. It's on.
I might just do that.
It's on Crave. But that was Big Twist. These all had big twists.
Big twist.
And so
not all of them. Most of them.
Reasonable sized twist. So with that, we move into the assignment for next week. Before we move into a new segment I'm going to do real quick before we wrap this up. But the assignment for next week is It's musicals, everybody. We're gonna talk some musicals.
Because we can sing.
No, we can't sing. We can't sing. We will not be singing. There will not.
We're gonna be. It's a musical episode where the entire time we're gonna be singing.
We are absolutely not. But the big news is
we're gonna sing.
Stop. Not only because it continues to cut out the mic and nobody can hear you anyway, but stop. Just stop. But the big exciting news is along with our assignment next week, which is musicals, comes our first guest. Hopefully, if everything works out. So look forward to that. We might have a third person. It's gonna be big time, fun time. We're gonna talk about musicals, our favorite, maybe our not so favorite. So look forward to that next week. That's gonna be fun. I've asked our special guests if they want to come on, but I don't want to make any promise I can't deliver on. So theoretically, there might be a guest next week. So look forward to that. But that's the assignment for next week. To wrap up today's show, I want to introduce a new segment to encourage you, because we always, at the end of the show, we always plug our Discord and the email. We always plug that. But I'd like to take some time at the end of each show to read some comments that are fun to read.
When we have them.
And when we have interesting comments, if we have any. Hopefully we don't get hate mail, but there's one on our video that I did about Once Upon a Forest. There's two, which we mentioned when we talked about Once Upon a Forest. Our friend Jake from the Arate Media podcast, which, as an aside, we were on the Arate Media podcast last week. You can go check that out. It is a big buttload of podcasts. There's so much podcast for you to check out. Almost nearly 5 hours of podcast.
In case this wasn't enough for you,
but
we did more.
He left a comment which said, I coined a term because of this movie, Once Upon a Forest, dubbed the Once Upon a Forest effect. It's when you remember something from your past, it's awesome, but when you watch it as an adult, it's awful. Which is what I referenced in that episode, in that video, when I talked about him in this video I wanted to stitch. I wanted to be like, you're wrong, Jake. It was a good movie, actually. It was not. It was not a good movie. But now to get to the one that the reason why I wanted to do this little segment. And Jordan, you're gonna have to strap in, because this is this is an essay. I assume you didn't read this beforehand.
No.
So feel free.
Probably a good thing.
So feel free to cut in anytime you have something you want to add. So comment from Chopstick Girl 241. I do remember this movie. I had the VHS and I watched it regularly, although I think I watched Fern Gully 1 and 2 more. To clear up some confusion, which animals do and don't wear clothes or speak is actually not due to size. It's due to danger level. Let me explain. Because it also goes into what you said about the directors not trusting kids in the 90s. Moles, mice, rabbits, etc. are considered prey animals or herbivores. Crows appear beautiful and intelligent, birds that often appear helpful to humans. Owls are also beautiful intelligence, but they would look terrifying to a rodent because it's trying to eat. Because of this, the owl is not considered a, quote, person. The mice and the moles and badgers are still, quote, people. Animal people, but still people. So the filmmakers put living circumstances that humans can identify with these anthropomorphized animals to make it easy for the kids to understand that all these animals are, quote, good. Crows are not an animal that most children are afraid of, unless it's close to Halloween. So that is also why they are part of the good animals. Though on the one hand, the black coating of the birds could be seen as an introduction to another way of life. All the kids seem surprised hearing singing and gospel. However, on the other hand, harsher reality is just some casual racism. But owls can be scary to kids. A big mysterious bird that only comes out at night. You can hear its eerie hoots for miles around, but you never may see it. You may never want to. Basically, mystery plus unknown equals fear, and fear equals bad. And that's why the owl is not considered a person. I'm not sure it can be called an antagonist, but it seems to be more of an obstacle on their journey than anything. Natural obstacle as well, because most of the kids are among the owl's buffet choices. So the owl actively tries to kill the animals. The owl... actively tries to put the animal twice. Oh, the owl actually tries to kill the animal kids, and for kids who are supposed to relate to kids in the film, maybe not by personality, more so by age. The intention is to make them feel terrified. Now, that does have some logic, but it is a giant silly mess when you actually look at nature and realize that most of these prey animals are omnivore. It's more complicated than that, but that's the simplicity. And at least one of them should have definitely tried to eat the other. But here's something fun that no one remembers. The badger kid is the only one to have her parents get immersed. I assume she means maced. But is also the only one to not actually join the other kids on their journey. Narratively, it makes sense to have a plot device. The sick badger girl as a starting point for our hero's journey. However, also narratively speaking, it also makes no sense to shit all over this little badger. That's so funny. I've never actually read this full comment. She starts as a happy kid learning kid school. Then her parents die. Then she gets sick to the point of almost dying because she got fucking gassed. And then her friends come back and get to reunite with their family while she arrives only to find that her parents are dead. Did I mention she's only supposed to be like 3 years old? Like I said, I know the other kids are also young and went through some shit, but at least they get to go on an adventure, feel important, become heroes, and get a happy ending. This little badger girl is basically pointless suffering. I guess you could argue that having some lasting death would make it heavier to make the message sink in for kids. But considering that they played whimsical with the setting and gray with the morals, you could argue that the dead badger parents isn't actually impactful because we didn't know these characters, we didn't care about them, and their only reason is to exist is to make a badger an orphan. That is completely true. Hell, cut to the other three and make the badger girl the main character. It makes more sense. She goes through the same gas attack as the other. The teacher is her uncle, and then we start to see the journey by the badger leaving a cure for her parents, and the movie can proceed relatively unchanged. I mean, you could write a better story from that starting premise alone, but this comment would be an actual damn good book if it goes on longer. Yeah. But one last thing. Literally no idea why they cast the dad. Yeah, so that's what he's in. So remember how we were like the badger is played by a famous person who sings a song for some reason? He was in the Phantom of the Opera. I didn't get shot out of my birth father into the late 90s, so I didn't get shot out of my birth father until the late 90s, so it wasn't technically the target demographic when it came out, but I can't imagine too many kids back there knew about Phantom of the Opera, let alone the actor. He definitely has star power, but yeah, it's so true. Like, it's one of those things when you're watching that movie that you can tell he's famous, and he's truly the only one who gives a shit. But that's very fascinating. I would certainly argue that you could have maybe made the owl a bit more clear. But you're right. They're making a valid point. It's so funny. And the comment started off sounding like they were defending the movie, and then as it went on, it became progressively more negative.
Yeah, they could have. The thing is that they could have gone the route of making the owl he's trying to trick them and manipulate them and make him like a illusion or like a representative of like an untrustworthy adult that's trying to lead them astray and lead them into a danger because he wants to eat them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if the lesson is supposed to be that like there are some big things out there that you can't try, like, 'cause you got to think about this of like, what's the lesson that these filmmakers are trying to make for this children's movie,
right?
And if the lesson is supposed to be that big things can be scary, like you could make it like a manipulative, like it's trying to trick them into its nest to eat them. And like it still talks, and then the world still follows the logic of all the animal talks, right? And some of them are just bad.
And also the response that the badger girl, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. That's so true in that she's a plot device. We're supposed to, like, the thing is hinging on us caring about her dying when we don't, and her parents being dead have no narrative impact on us because they're dead and we don't know them. It would be better, not necessarily to cut out the other forest kids, but swap them. So like have one of like the parents die. So like the badger girl go, the mouse girl stay behind and have her get sick from going in and saving the badger girl. Like have it so she goes
I would
and
just raise it. I would raise the stakes personally and make it where all of the parents get gassed except for the teacher uncle dude, and the kids have to go find cures for their parents. So then there's stakes for all of them.
I mean,
They all
true, yeah.
could lose their parents.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would absolutely work. But I mean, I think if we just like, if we're just talking minor tweaks, yeah, you just swap like the mouse girl and the badger girl, and then the badger girl's arc is she has to learn to be brave, and then she gets the thing to save the mouse girl, and it's like, oh, I need to learn to be like the mouse girl, Abigail, her name. I need to learn to be like Abigail, and then that's the lesson. Because like you're right, otherwise like all the stakes of the movie hinge on you caring about a character you don't really know, because the movie doesn't have time for you to know them.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say, like, you almost, in that instance, because you don't have time to know them, you almost have to raise the stakes. So it's like the entire village gets gassed
Yeah.
and only the children, because the children are off in the meadow, like down the way playing or whatever, they don't get gassed.
And
And the uncle, or like the uncle lives like just outside the area, and that's why they all don't get gassed. Whereas the rest of the town, full of people, do. And they're the only ones that can save all of them
and
because they
it's
didn't get gassed, and the uncle has to go in and look after them all and make sure they all survive long
yeah.
enough. Like it at that point you don't need to know all of them. It's an entire town full of people. You don't want to see all those people die.
And my thing is like when you really think about it, all those parents being alive at the end, it's just like, wait, so how they waited, like I guess they had to wait multiple days for it to be clean, I guess maybe is the idea. But yeah, the main theme with those animated movies, It and We're Back, both needed to be longer. That would be my thing.
Yeah.
And all these problems we're pointing out would be
Which
better
clearly,
with 20 to 30 minutes, which clearly movie makers realize, filmmakers realize.
I was just gonna say,
because a kids' movies got longer. Like most people agree that 90 minutes is kind of the perfect length for a kids' movie. Like it gets what you need to get across. Like 2 hours at most. Spider-Verse is too long. I think we can all agree on that. But yeah, leave a fun comment. Leave an essay. Maybe if we get enough comments, we'll do an entire comment-based episode. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens. If you leave a comment on the video. We'll respond to it on the episode. Email the show. So with that ends our comment section because we only have 2 comments that are worth talking about. But leave a comment that's worth talking about, and we'll talk about it on the show. It'll be fun. Let's wrap up the show, Jordan. If you want to contact the show, if you want us to read your comment or your email, join our Discord to start off with. I have to remember to fix the link, but join the Discord. You can follow me on TikTok. I'm Canadian, so my TikTok's not getting banned. You can follow me on TikTok. Check us out on the Arate Media podcast. Oh, where can people find you, Jordan? I almost forgot to do that.
I am on Twitch on Mondays. Zethgore187. I do Minecraft Mondays.
There's a Minecraft
and
Monday.
If people start showing up again, actual people that aren't just bots show up again, maybe I'll do more days.
Maybe
it's kind of hard when you have to watch movies for a award-winning podcast. Maybe I could squeeze in one or two.
Maybe we'll watch a movie. Maybe if the audience. Here's what else. You know what? We'll do it. We'll set a goal. If we can get 1,000 subscribers on here, is that too high? Does that feel too high? If we can get 1,000 subscribers, fuck it, shoot for the moon. If we can get 1,000 subscribers, we'll do a movie night. We'll do a movie night where one of our picks, we'll watch it together as an audience and show on Jordan's Twitch at Zethgore. We'll do it. We'll do a movie night. 1,000 subscribers on here. Is that too lofty of a goal? Jordan's not telling me.
It's a lofty goal.
Jordan's not telling me it's not a lofty goal, but that's the goal.
It's a lofty goal, but it's not. It's a long-term goal. I mean, if you want to do one sooner, you could maybe like 500. But
or you can email the show at itsjustinsbusiness@gmail.com. You can email there. This has been another episode of the Spur of the Moment podcast. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I wanted to say in the wrap up.
Go buy a trophy.
Go buy a trophy from Trophy Smack. Thank you to Trophy Smack for sponsoring this episode, as always. Go check us out on. That's what it was. Check us out once again on the Arate Media podcast at Arate Media, and I have another.
Go check out Jake's podcast where we were there for almost 5 hours.
Almost 5 hours. I have a podcast experience on the part of your Broadway World podcast coming out eventually. I don't know when that's coming out. That was fun. I talked about My Fair Lady.
And theoretically, we might have a guest on our next episode.
In relation to that, hopefully,
and we will definitely be singing throughout the entire next episode because it's musicals.
But yeah, that's been the Spur of the Moment podcast. I'm Justin. That's Jordan.
Oh.
Bye, everybody.